CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
追剧追成兄弟，申办 Hi Netflix 方案 ，Hi Net 招待你看1年 Netflix，一家多装置追剧，就算生活不同步，心也能同步。Hi Netflix。
等等，你追到下一集了，哦，人家等一下才要看啦。不会了，这集好好看哦。
母女追剧，追成姐妹，申办 Hi Netflix 方案，Hi Net 招待你看1年 Netflix，一家多装置追剧，就算生活不同步，心也能同步。Hi Netflix。
His third Drake from going down, and for Beyond Gaming to reach Soul Point. Gemini trying to find the angle in. He does have the smite. Let's see if he can find the way in here. Is not going to take it, and Megabank Beyond Gaming coming up with 3 Drakes. Now chasing for the team fight. They do find the stun onto Genie, but in the backline, Dago just dies to the collapse from Alan on the backside. Burst damage. Way too high. Husha, the next target here, and Liang will go down too. Oh no, but he does get the counter strike beforehand, and he does survive. Heartbreaker into the backline. Husha still full HP. Can they finish this one up? Alan trying as hard as he might, and they don't get the reset. Jimmy walks away.
The response is slowly but surely kind of coming. They should keep to finish this, but can they get out?
Yeah, mission is going to get opened up onto the chains do not land, and J-Team are starting to come back into this one. Hana from the other side gets a 3-man pull onto the Moonfall. He wipes Skywing, and finally Unified is dead. Hana is not going to let J-Team's hopes and dreams.
Keep moving on.
Increase his damage numbers in some of these pre-fight setups.
do have a bit of a spillover fight happening in the bottom side here. Lee Kai now getting opened up by Liang. Liang going to get the ignite down.
Oh my god!
All 4 vitals being procced, and Lee Kai finds a turnaround solo kill against the ignite.
Oh
Well done.
my god, Lee Kai just...
Common theme throughout of these team fights, Abelios is your main threat here, and he's not taking any damage as PSG once again go in. Everfrost does not land. Great power from Woody, and Lil V stays alive, but his support does go down. It will be a 1-for-1 trade. Can they get Lil V? Good body block by Rest, and Mission comes in to clean up the pieces, but once again, Unified stays alive. He has the red buff ticking, and he will take down the solo laners once again. Double kill for Unified. This man just...
fast, very decisive team, and that decision making to go for the play down bottom speaks to it as Kongye goes in, followed in, Hextech ultimatum, the kick out, and the resets are here. Kongye and Rock comboing up, looking for
Double
one,
kill.
looking for 2. Kongye's back, Jimmy in. A new fighter has joined the fray, but how
Could be a
long
triple.
will it last?
Oh.
Flashing and a triple kill for Kongye.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
哎，宝贝，我等来啊。
好的。喜欢新的回家模式吗？
妈妈来家里吃饭。
多后背做饭啊！哎，宝贝，我要去吃饭。好的。
8种情境任你切换，属于台湾人的智慧音箱，i 宝贝。
哎，这下
永远走在最前面，中华电信。
等等，你真的下机了？哦，人家等一下才要看啦。不会了，这集好好看哦。
母女追剧，追成姐妹。申办 High Netflix 方案 ，High Net 招待你看1年 Netflix，一家多装置追剧，就算生活不同步，心也能同步。High Netflix。
From zero to hero, Akshan swings into action from the lawless streets of Shurima. Trained by his Sentinel mentor, he's an assassin that rails down opponents from a distance with flashy precision.
Once they see me, it is too late for forgiveness.
It's not all fun and games roaming across Summoner's Rift. This suave rule breaker is on a mission for vengeance.
You know you had that coming, right?
So scoundrels beware. Welcome to the Akshan Champion Spotlight. Akshan's passive is Dirty Fighting. Every third hit from his auto attacks or abilities deals additional damage. When fighting against enemy champions, Akshan also gains a shield for a few seconds. After an auto attack, Akshan will fire an additional shot. He can also cancel that shot to gain movement speed instead.
Coming through!
Akshan's Q throws out his Avengerang, damaging and revealing enemies from their hiding spots. If it collides with enemy champions, he gains movement speed for a brief duration. Each time an enemy is hit, the Avengerang's range is extended farther. How does it come back again? Akshan's W is Going Rogue. His passive marks scoundrels, enemy champions who have killed Akshan's allies. If he takes down a scoundrel, he gains gold and resurrects the fallen allies. Activating Going Rogue lets Akshan camouflage himself briefly when there are no enemies around. When moving near a wall or in brush, he can hide indefinitely. While camouflaged, he gains increased mana regen and movement speed toward scoundrels.
Knock knock! Vengeance calling!
And this is the part where they run away. Get around the rift in style with Heroic Swing. Akshan fires a grappling hook that attaches to the first wall hit and swings around it. To get the most distance out of your E, grapple from max range. Akshan then dives off the rope and fires a final, powerful attack. If he collides with an enemy champion or terrain before landing, he attacks automatically instead. Enemy takedowns refresh Heroic Swing's cooldown, granting him opportunities for Reset City. While he's able to sweep around, Akshan cannot swing or dive over walls, so try not to crash.
Oh, come now!
Akshan's ultimate is Comeuppance. Locking onto an enemy champion, Akshan charges his gun the Absolver and stores up bullets for a massive attack. Recast to unleash a barrage of bullets onto the first target, with damage scaling based on missing health.
That was quite satisfying.
Not one to be locked down, Akshan can move around and Heroic Swing while charging Comeuppance.
Oh, so exciting!
But watch where you aim. Bullets can be blocked by minions and towers. A troublemaker by trade, Akshan shines early with his ability to efficiently roam and stir up the map. Try to catch the enemy team off guard before they even have a chance to react. Ouch, talk about a mid-diff. Going Rogue combines the strongest parts of your assassination talents. If an enemy thinks they can get away with the kill, capitalize on the scoundrel mechanic and pick them off after the fight. It's way easier for you to pick off foes than engage in 1v1s, so stick close to your allies for clutch revival plays. His name is Akshan. You killed his allies. Prepare to die.
Consider yourself absolved.
Akshan prefers picking off foes from a distance, so you'd be wise to evade champions that get up close and personal. Even a well-timed grappling hook might not be enough to escape. Your team may not always make the best choices, but luckily Akshan thrives when he can swing in and avenge his fallen allies. If a team fight goes sideways, keep your eye on the enemy-marked scoundrel with the highest kill count. Find an opening and grapple in for the takedown.
There we go. Get in, avenge fallen ally, get out.
With the scoundrel defeated and your team revived, secure a victory on the enemy nexus.
Haha, the thrill of going where you're not supposed to.
Vengeance never looked so good. Discover more about the Rogue Sentinel in the links below.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. and your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
追剧追成兄弟，申办 Hi Netflix 方案 ，HiNet 招待你看1年 Netflix，一家多装置追剧，就算生活不同步，心也能同步。Hi Netflix。
哎，宝贝，我等来啊。
好的。喜欢新的美加模式吗？
妈妈来家里吃饭。
嗨，多好杯做饭啊！哎，宝贝，我要去吃饭。
好的。
8种情境任你切换，属于台湾人的智慧音箱，i 宝贝。
哎，这下
永远走在最前面，中华电信。
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
追剧追成兄弟，申办 Hi Netflix 方案，HiNet 招待你看1年 Netflix，一家多装置追剧，就算生活不同步，心也能同步。Hi Netflix。
等等，你真的下一集了？哦，人家等一下才要看啦。不回来了，这集好好看。
母女追剧，追成姐妹，申办 High Netflix 方案，High Net 招待你看1年 Netflix，一家多装置追剧，就算生活不同步，心也能同步。High Netflix。
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
母女追剧，追成姐妹，申办 High Netflix 方案，High Net 招待你看1年 Netflix，一家多装置追剧，就算生活不同步，心也能同步。High Netflix。
哎，宝贝，我等了。
好的。喜欢新的美加模式吗？
妈妈来家里吃饭。
嗨。
端后背做饭啊。哎，宝贝，我要去吃饭。
好的。
8种情境任你切换，属于台湾人的智慧音箱 i 宝贝。
哎，这下
永远走在最前面。中华电信。
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
追剧追成兄弟，申办 Hi Netflix 方案 ，HiNet 招待你看1年 Netflix，一家多装置追剧，就算生活不同步，心也能同步。Hi Netflix。
And welcome esports fans to our semi-final matchup here for the PCS. And, we started with 10 teams at the beginning of this split, Clement. It has all come down to only 3. One team we already know, Beyond Gaming, is going on to Worlds, but there are 2 squads that are going to be fighting for that second World spot and a spot in the finals tomorrow. Hey everybody, I'm Pyrotechnics, he is Clement, and our wonderful sponsors are, of course, CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible now, Clement. Are you still cooling down after last night? Because, man, what a series.
Oh, I have gone through a lot of stress, a lot of doubting about myself, but, I have been one of those people that has been saying that PSG, for me, has looked rather weak throughout the split. Don't get fooled by their flawless record. They have had a lot of close calls, and I think a reckoning was overdue to come.
I think you're right, and we finally got to see it here. And, what's interesting about close calls, I think the most recent one that comes to mind, apart from this series, was one of the games that this team last matched up against J-Team. So I'm really excited to see what happens today. J-Team, for their side, it's an incredible story. They're looking to make the finals for the first time in the PCS. Obviously, it's been a while since we've seen this squad at Worlds. We didn't have this league when they last went to the big dance,
Yeah, and they also had Fofo back then, so this would be a completely new J-Team in a lot of senses going back to the world stage, if they do make it, of course. And I do want to say that I feel like J-Team has had a very long playoff season. You mentioned this, they played 15 games so far, and
it's
we've
insane.
seen a lot of growth coming out from this team, especially with their matchups against J-Team here, so against PSG especially. I think a couple things we will be looking forward to is the Aphelios, the Gangplank, and a lot of those picks they did get off of their series with PSG. As we take a look at the bracket, J-Team, as we mentioned, have basically played the whole bracket, the full 5 games most of the way.
They have had a gauntlet. It's insane. It's like max games in the best of 3. Then they get 0-3'd by PSG, but some of those games were closer than they looked on paper. And then almost a full series against Hong Kong Attitude, and the Herculean effort against Machi to qualify for this semifinal matchup. And PSG, by comparison, they played 8. It's half the game's difference in the playoffs. PSG certainly don't want to be snoozing for this one because, they might sleep in and find they missed Worlds.
For sure, but I would say that PSG are the ones that might be coming in a little bit more fatigued. They did play just yesterday 5 games against Megabank Beyond Gaming, so it's 10 games for them within a span of something like 36 hours. That is a very, very taxing on them. So I do think today is about the adaptations of PSG and whether J-Team can continue their rather strong early game performance against PSG in their previous series. Even though it was a 3-0, PSG never got over a 2,000 gold lead by 20 minutes against J-Team. So that is a very key thing to remember. The tempo game plan from PSG has not been working out.
No, that's true. We have seen a number of games really decided, honestly, in some cases, sort of last minute, down to a couple of team fights. We certainly saw a lot of back and forth in that final game yesterday against Megabank Beyond Gaming. And, well, we will see if J-Team, we're studying that one very closely, see if they can find that formula and really crack the code and take down PSG. That would be monumental if the team that went completely undefeated in the summer, they had not lost a series since MSI. I mean, it's crazy to think about. Obviously, the playoffs are a whole nother story, and anything can happen. But it's such a huge upset. It's kind of hard to understate it. But I want to see if J-Team can find those answers. They seem to have a lot of power on their side. They seem to have grown a lot, and we saw a couple of cracks in the armor of PSG. Most notably up in the top side, Hanabi. I don't know how else to put this. Did not look good.
Yeah, there were a lot of problems from PSG. I think if you look at the individual level, it definitely came down to, I think, River not really performing in his early game, and Hanabi also not performing in teamfights. He went into 2 critical teamfights on Nar with 0 rage bar, and also completely flubbed his Viego games. He was very fed in both of those games, but going into the Drake fight, he was the first one to die. So that's not how you want to play a reset comp.
I don't know. I was watching last night with just a mix of excitement, apprehension, anxiety, and it was just on repeat. But as far as this squad goes, there is still a lot of power here. I think Unified, Kaiwing, certainly the Rocks. I want to see Maple back on a big damage dealer. When they put him on Karma, it didn't really look all that great. His Zoe game was just fine. TF, no need to channel your inner Bivin. That's okay. But yeah, I think that this team can get back to form. It's just a question of, will they be able to do it? Will they be able to complete the salty run back and return to the finals to face off against Beyond Gaming? I would think absolutely this is a squad that's still favored, but after yesterday, I feel like anything can happen.
In my opinion, what they should be doing is switching over to a teamfight composition. They should be giving themselves a draft that can actually take a 5v5 just head on, rather than relying on full tempo. No more utility for Maple. Please stop building lethality on your Jins. Go for teamfight.
There we go. And now for J-Team on their side, they have absolutely fought, scratched, and clawed their way to this point. 15 games in the playoffs, and the last time they met, it was a 3-0 sweep by PSG. This will be a team on the hunt for redemption. They are, of course, Rest, Hana, Mission, Lilvi, and Woody. And, if we want to see a PSG teamfight comp, what do you want to see out of this squad, Clement?
I think they will also be trending towards a little bit more team fighting as well. I think we have seen a lot of the pickups actually from PSG, where they prioritize the Aphelios, they prioritize the Gameplank. I think those are going to be the two most contested champions in this matchup. And weirdly enough, J-Team actually played this style because of their match with PSG. So ironically, PSG dropped their own style, but J-Team kept with it.
And J-Team, even if they have been a little bit more consistent in the style, some of the statistics don't always bear that out. Of course, having lost a number more games than PSG have, it's kind of easy to look at this and say, oh yeah, of course, PSG, much better team. But, it's been more recent trends that we're seeing this squad come up and really level up and really looking no further than that Machi Esports series where they were able to turn things around. This is a team that plays with a lot of grit. I think they have a possibility to come around and really knock out PSG talent. It would be so tough to do it, but it's possible.
Yeah, and there's a couple of stats here that I think are slightly misleading. GD at 15, as we have mentioned, has not been that one-sided for PSG. PSG is basically getting off most of the lower tier teams, in fact. And if you look at their series, they're actually pretty even-handed, and what really made the difference were the team fights itself. In terms of just the 5v5s, we've had a lot of mishaps from Mission, unfortunately, and PSG have been able to profit from that. Also, PSG in their series had a very heavy emphasis on Aphelios. So if you give Unified that champion, it goes into the late game, it's almost an automatic win. And that's why I think that Aphelios is going to be the most contested champion for both sides right here. Indeed, PSG on the blue side already taking away the Ziggs and making sure they have the potential to first pick the Moon Man.
Absolutely. Into the picks and bans we go. Renekton ban on the red. No surprises there. Of course, we are still on patch 11.15 throughout the playoffs. Aphelios is gone officially. I like this from J-Team. Don't even give the chance for the first pick opportunity.
Yeah, this is very standard right here. Another of the couple of power picks that I think have potential to be first pick right here would be stuff like the Lee Sin. This has been Hana's best champion, and it has been River's just automatic go-to for some reason. So Lee Sin, it might favor up, and I think Gameplank is one of those picks that is, as we mentioned, very impactful because you can fight against the Camille. It provides scaling. Allows you to team fight, it's global pressure, but will come later in the draft generally.
Yeah, and I think this is another choice that actually works well for PSG is the Xin Zhao. Gives them a lot of flexibility. It really lets River get into the enemy team and do what he wants to do, set up the engagements when he can, and also just track Hana when he can throughout the game. That is going to be the Rise pickup from Mission, though, locked in, so fairly comfortable champion for him. Gives him a decent bit of variety and range, and if there's two mid laners that understand each other well through experience, it is probably Maple and Mission.
Yeah, these guys have played a lot of games against each other, starting all the way back to the LMS days for sure. And I think PSG should be very comfortable with dealing with the Rise. We saw Mawan just default to Rise over and over again, but it wasn't that impactful in the early game. And I wouldn't really put Mission as a great split pusher. This has been a continuous problem. Is in a lot of teamfights, Mission just isn't there. So I don't see the Rise pick as being particularly threatening. I actually assume that JT might be willing to go for Lucian, which caused a lot of problems for PSG yesterday in their matchup versus Megabank Beyond Gaming. J-Team is another one of those teams that could potentially flex this pick over and over again. But what we're seeing currently in draft with the Zoe is now PSG do have a dominant mid jungle. There is no other composition jungler that J-Team can pick to wrestle away early mid game control from River and Maple.
And this is back to basics too. This is what we like to see from PSG, playing to the strengths that they do have. You know, when you have players as strong as Maple and River on your squad, it makes a lot of sense to empower them as much as possible. With this last pick on the rotation, it will be the Jhin locked in to try and match the range of Lil V's Varus. So we are likely to see quite a lot of supports hitting the ban column after this.
This is an interesting pick because I don't think Unified had a good Jhin performance yesterday. We saw him just get one-tapped by Mao and Solution over and over again. And Jhin is not an easy champion to utilize in the team fights. You want to use current call, but you need to get your execute damage. There's a lot of conditions for him to be useful that need to be met for him to be useful. So I think PSG are going for more of a pick composition once again, which is not what I thought they were trying to do. We'll see what happens. It is part of the course for their regular split performance, but in postseason, again, they have not been able to consistently get early game leads.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it will work out for them, but we are seeing a focus, rather than on the bottom side, it actually is more top. In this ban phase 2, we've got the Jace removed, the Camille's going to match from PSG, so interestingly enough, the Camille hasn't made an appearance either side, has been honestly prioritized a little bit less by a number of teams. I'd like to see this one picked up. I mean, if you're tuning in from the LCK, we saw that in game 1 picked up, although it did proceed to get bullied pretty immediately. Spoiler alert. Kennen banned away too.
Yeah, it looks like J-Team are just setting up for an early GP. I'm not sure about this comp for mid J-Team. I feel like their mid jungle is fairly weak, and they need some early game options to play around. The bottom lane is going to be uncontested. If they go for the GP, which I think is a very important pick in the matchup, their map is a little too wide open. But however, PSG are going to make the decision for them. They're just going to ban it.
Yeah, not let them do it. I was curious. I don't think they were going to get the chance to pick it for themselves, but that was the champion that Hanabi actually did look decent on yesterday in the games that they were able to win over Megabank Beyond Gaming. Back over to the J-Team side, and we'll see if they are going to wait for the counter pick for last for rest, or if they opt into something else with the Gwen still being up. That does end up being the option, but this is not an early game choice as much.
I just want to say nobody respects the Gnar counter pick. Nobody. Absolutely no one looks like
the way Hanabi played it yesterday, I don't think they should.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And in fact, Rest was the first one to bring out the Gnar counter pick in the PCS as well. And this is giving me a bad sense of deja vu.
Flashbacks, Clement, flashbacks.
Yeah, we had that one team fight where, look, even Kaiwing's kind of like,
You sure? You sure about that, bro?
This is a bad trip down memory lane.
Oh, boy. Okay, so whatever they pick for the support, I mean, the Leona got flashed a little bit earlier. PSG are going to stick to their guns here and try to make this work. But, yeah, I want to see some Gnar bars looking a little bit better from Hanabi this time around. And for J-Team, ooh, man, they just keep cycling through all sorts of exciting options. I completely forgot Thresh just got left up through this entire pick ban phase. Obviously, with Aphelios not being available, he wasn't quite as prioritized. But this would be a decent bit of frontline if they want to put Woody on the Braum, and they do. So
I do like the Braum.
Looking at the whole composition, yeah.
It does counter the Jhin quite heavily. We saw yesterday in team fights, once you have the stand behind me up, not really much that the Jhin can do. Can't get the damage towards the back line. And PSG, again, they're going for a rather risky composition. This is, for me, snowball or die. J-Team have a much better scaling late game comp with 1-3-1 potential, while PSG are trying to force tempo once more. I don't think PSG need to do this. This is my main critique of PSG. Even though they are the best team at running tempo in the entire PCS, it is not the most consistent comp. You have a lot of individual fails that can happen, and if that happens, you don't have a late game to rely on. I would rather see PSG widen their margin of error rather than tunnel on what they're supposedly best at.
Yeah, you know, when that does fail, you don't have a backup option. So, you know, what this says, it looks like PSG are just trusting that they are going to be strong enough to win this. But, you know, that may not be enough going forward. So maybe they're trying to hide a little bit from, of course, if they win this tomorrow's matchup. But I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to big brain this and I'm just overthinking it, Clement. It just feels to me like you're absolutely right. Like they don't want to stretch out too far. But if that fails you, it doesn't matter how good you were in the regular season. This is the last chance. You lose this and you are not going to Worlds 2021. You will have to watch from the sidelines. And I think anything less than even that first seed has got to be a disappointment for PSG Talent.
Yeah, it definitely will be. So I think at least the good thing about this comp is that they have understood that Maple needs to deal damage. He can't play for full tempo, but he cannot play utility. If he's playing Twisted Fate, if he's playing Karma, then a lot of the times the team will lack carries to actually pull them through into the late game. So at least that part I sort of understand about the build is that, you know, they are going to have a lot of agency on Maple himself. He's not going to be trying to buff up River, who I'll be honest has been having a pretty terrible playoffs and has just not been on point. A lot of early deaths coming from River. So at least he's going to be able to carry rather than trying to support River in terms of the mid jungle priority.
Yeah, and I think that's giving a lot more options to, you know, what in a lot of cases isn't always going to be your main damage dealer, but when it's Maple, you're certainly going to be the one wanting to get the executions on him. On the side of Hanabi, I really hope we see a little bit more from him today on the Gnar. I mean, I don't want to just watch one game and be like, oh, well, you know, he's terrible on Gnar. He's terrible on Gnar. No, Hanabi, he's in a counter matchup. He's usually more a weak side player. We have seen him kind of go back to that role, but if they can focus top pressure and try to shut down Res Gwen, that can certainly help them get off to a good start. The question is, how effective will they be able to do that? And, you know, on a Zoe, you can definitely get your roam on. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see a lot of trips up there.
I just want to say that I have kind of given up hope that Hanabi is going to be a great Gnar player, because we've seen this pick over the years so many times, and it's been a consistent thing where he just doesn't manage his rage bar very well. And to be fair, I think it's very hard to do. The team fights happen so frequently in this meta where you have the Drake timer at 5 minutes that a lot of times you don't have any side lane time to farm up your Mega Gnar bar at all. And, you know, even when Rest is playing Gnar, the same thing is happening over and over again. Like, the best Gnar player, in my mind, is probably Shahu right now in the LPL. He always seems to have his Gnar bar perfectly. I don't know why, but very few people are able to do that throughout the years. And if you look at what happened yesterday, it was an absolute travesty. Like, he came in with 0 Gnar bar, he hopped over a wall, isolated himself, did not get any auto attacks for the first 10 seconds of a team fight, and then he missed his,
and then it was over
completely. So
yeah,
it was like it was actually like 0 impact Gnar. It was so I don't think, for me, I'm not putting any of my eggs into a Gnar team fight basket. I think it's purely for laning phase. It is purely for priority. And if they can achieve that, that's fine. But I'm not counting on the team fights.
Yeah, that's if it gets into the later stages of the game and PSG don't have a solid lead, that might be a little bit rough. For the J team side, they've given themselves a lot of options here. I do like the ability to go for the 1-3-1. I do like the team fight. They can be pretty slippery, but definitely keeping an eye on Rest up in the top side and see what he has to contend with. On the other hand, counter pressure coming out too could be from Hana and Mission once he dings 6. So definitely a lot of roam ability for this J-Team squad as well. Let's see if they can hold on in the early game. They have come close the last time these two teams met to taking a game off of PSG, but it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened all year. Even if you go back into the spring split, they weren't able to find one. But they saw everything change yesterday when it was proved that, in fact, even gods of the PCS can bleed. Clement, looking at the two compositions, just overall, I think I know what you're going to say, but whose do you like better here?
If PSG are playing with the regular season form, then I do think that PSG can overrun J-Team. J-Team are a very slow team. None of their lanes should have an organic lead. Gwen is going to get pushed in by Gnar. The same thing is going to happen for Ryze. And in the bot lane, it's kind of a wash. So if you just extrapolate from the laning phase, then PSG have a very strong snowballing team. I very seriously doubt that J-Team can hold on to their mid lane tower in this setup. They want to scale, they want to go for 1-3-1, but you have to have that defensive presence for your side lanes to continue to farm up. And I just don't think that's really possible when you have such strong poke coming in with Jhin and Zoe. So, like, overall, the analytical side of my brain still favors PSG draft, but I have to say, given the context of what has happened in the last 24 hours, I feel like PSG are taking a massive risk. I'm not sure their mentality can hold up to losing on a composition that was very similar to this one yesterday. And because of those reasons, I'm actually leaning towards JT. This is theoretically not a better draft, but it's a safer one.
Well, it's a bold strategy. We'll see if it pays off for him as PSG take to the Rift up against J-Team in a win or go home matchup here. The winner of this best of 5 series will be guaranteed a spot at Worlds representing the PCS. We don't know which seed yet, but we certainly will know that team will be there, and it's going to be an exciting one for sure. No shenanigans to start things off. Now, we see a number of teams in this region that will do that, but not really a J-Team specialty. A little bit more by the numbers.
Minions have spawned.
And just to go over the setup a little bit more, if we look at our bot lane, it is double cleanse. You really do not expect anything to happen there. I think the Jhin, we have actually seen Unified sometimes just go with the boot start as well. This time around, there is a melee support in Braum who's not going to put out a lot of damage. Doesn't really have all-in potential, so he's going to keep on to the longsword. But in general, with the 3 pots and double cleanses, you should expect all the action to naturally gravitate towards the mid lane. I think this is where PSG can snowball the most. Top lane, I still assume that Hanabi will find a lead just in this matchup, just the way it works, the range versus the melee. But it's going to be very hard to tower dive in towards the top side. So I think the main thing is for J-Team to try to play defensive mid lane and try to get onto the later phases.
Yeah, and Rest also going for that Ghost too, instead of the Flash or even the Ignite as we get things underway. Just a little bit of trading down bottom, but it's really just more love taps. I want to keep an eye on River this game too, because obviously where he goes is going to probably dictate some of the early action and tempo plays from PSG. But, you know, we didn't see him on Xin Zhao yesterday. He was pretty much all Lee Sin or Olaf. This is a champion that can also get, you know, right in your face and stick and, you know, try to make these plays. But I am a little curious about River's performance. You know, in the regular season, he was far and away my MVP. Now I'm kind of questioning it a little bit.
Yeah, River at the later end of this split has been looking a little bit weird. I think a lot of times he goes in too far in team fights, and he just ends up dying. So a little too ham at times, not the best coordination in team fights with the rest of his team. I do want to mention the continuation of keeping Rise safe. If we look at the map right now, we just saw J-Team place double wards on both sides of the river. Very cognizant of the potential for an early Xin Zhao gank. We have seen River do a lot of these just one-side clears into level 3 ganks. So, you know, Rise is making sure that that's not going to happen. He's going to be able to build his tier up perfectly. And when you have 3 potentially pushing lanes like PSG does, what you should be doing on the Xin Zhao is just trying to reveal yourself as little as possible. If you do that, then the enemy has to assume that you could be in all 3 lanes. And that just means that they can't gank anywhere. So
it's all psychological warfare. Just want to make sure that they keep on the down low and stop Hana from doing anything. But there will be scuttles traded either side. Clearly, J-Team have done their homework, and you know I think this is a team that certainly does. They are very well coordinated when they come in with a game plan. It's just sometimes those plans sort of fall to pieces when they face off against the tougher squads. I feel like adaptability has always been a little bit of an issue, but that's the regular season. That's the old J-Team. Meanwhile, Unified taking a lot of damage early, forced to flash, and followed by Lil V for first blood.
Oh, I can't believe that just happened. Unified is not running Hail of Blades, so he will lose these auto attack trades, and Lil V just opened up on him. We're gonna watch the play once again. You have to pay attention to the red circle underneath Little V right here. He just got it, 1, 2, 3, and he had the Vengeance passive as well. So it was one shot of Hail Blades and then Vengeance passive into the straight auto attack chase down after the Winter's Bite. So very unfortunate for Unified. He just, you know, left his minions, and the timing was perfect for Varus to start that.
Yeah, it was right after the last shot from Jhin, so he's reloading during that entire cycle. And I really don't think he expected that one, and I don't think we did either. You know, talking at the beginning of the game about how the bottom lane probably was going to be a little bit of trades, but no damage or no deaths because of the double cleanse. Turned out to not be the case, Clement, as we do have our first blood for J-Team. Meanwhile, Maple looked like he was maybe trying to fake mission out, but nothing doing there.
And that does change things quite a bit, because right now, if Woody flashes on Unified, he's dead. Hana comes over, that's an easy pickup kill. PSG cannot actually push their wave anymore. They have to give up priority. I think that it's probably best for Unified just to be farming underneath his tower. If he goes out, he's just gone. So he has to wait for his summoners, and J-Team know this. So this is a very good invade. They have the numbers advantage, and they're going to try and shut down Kaiwing for even more punishment.
Well, River does look to try and collapse in as Maple is able to find the Sleepy Trouble bubble onto Mission, but no execution available just yet. That'd be a little bit early here as they go in for round 2. Hana taking a lot more damage than he was dishing out, however. Woody at his back, forcing the flash away from River. It's Hana who does go down. Mission tagging his way in, looking for Kaiwing, this time to get the Winter Spike proc off, but Maple still on the front line, and River is coming back for more. So J-Team, they bite off a lot more than they can chew here as a pair of flashes get spent.
CP Trouble bubble?
Through. Woody gets betrayed! Oh no!
That was very ill-conceived from J-Team. I felt like their timing was a little bit off. If the Realm Warp happened just a second earlier, I could see that working, but they didn't seem like they were on the same page. So we'll watch this again. Hana goes out and then comes back in again. Now, the critical thing here is just watching Mission when he takes over to level 6. I want to see if he got Realm Warp midway through that fight, because, you know, if he did actually come in just a bit sooner, yes, they could have picked off River, but this was kind of a low percentage play to start off. If you notice, Xin Zhao's 1 level ahead of Hana at this point, and Maple still arrives here first. The exhaust is also, there's actually double exhaust coming in from the, yeah, there was an exhaust traded back and forth on each side there, so I'm just not sure. J-Team, I think they were telling themselves that Mission could arrive faster than he actually could.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a misfire, and it nets PSG a little bit of an advantage in terms of gold and kills at the moment, but, you know, back to the status quo, Unified's still going to have a little bit of a hard time here as the wave is just kind of being kept from him for a little bit. Up in the top, we do see that advantage in farm that we do expect from this lane, but, you know, Rest is perfectly fine that there hasn't been any attention on him. He's not playing for the laning phase. He's on a Gwen.
Yeah, he's just waiting for the late game to scale up, and we have seen in team fights, especially with something like the Ghost, Gwen does so much more damage compared to something like the Gnar. It's much easier to use, you have great chase down potential, and just the scaling factor alongside the Rise is what really makes this champion work in kind of the double AP 131. Now going back to J-Team's game plan overall, though, I don't think they should be trying to make too many risky plays. They have the scaling, like we mentioned. They don't need to force things. So I'm not sure what the logic is behind going for, like, even if you have a slight lead, if it's a 55 to 45 play, I think you leave it be. I think you just say it's not worth the risk to allow Zoe to snowball.
Right. Yeah, you got to be careful when you you're starting to get a little greedy. You see maybe there's going to be some kills to be had. Now, we will have a Herald started up here by PSG, but they seem to be ceding ground a little bit, and Shelly doesn't reset. So, oh no, there it goes. Everything just goes a little pear-shaped now. But J-Team have brought everyone to this party, and Unified is not here. So, this should be seeded over, but Maple is still looking for the kills. That's going to be a Sleepy Trouble Bubble landing, and they will secure it. Here comes the big Gnar. That's going to be a pretty big against the wall smash as Hana gets caught between a rock and a hard place. The curtain call opens up. Lil V nowhere for him to go, and even though Rest was trying to get a kill onto Kaiwing, he will be able to skip and slash him down to size. Even so, PSG coming up huge with a triple kill for River.
Yeah, that was a perfect condition for Hanabi right there. We already saw the Dragon's Rage go out onto River, so it meant that there was no disengage, and he pretty much just walked into the pit and got a triple kill there. It doesn't matter if PSG even lose a couple of members in that fight. They got the snowball onto Maple at this point, so we'll watch this again. I think the critical thing here is, unfortunately, J-Team did reset the Herald. You could see the aggro here. They should have tried to rush this down just a little bit sooner. They needed a smite earlier. Hana was a little bit too greedy with that one. And if they smited here, they would have had a perfect situation to back out. Jin would not have been able to get into this fight. And look at the way Hana plays this. He uses the Dragon's Rage right in front of Hanabi. That's an open mat invitation for the Mega Gnar to just come in and smash your entire team. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that was the correct play.
What was that about low percentage plays and what J-Team should be doing, Clement? I don't know. I seem to remember you saying something before we started. Yeah, PSG find themselves with a healthy lead. They don't have Herald, but I don't think they're too worried about it.
Well,
it actually ends up
getting
the
Xin Zhao, it's kind of hard for River to have a bad game at this point.
Yeah, River. I've seen Fed River do pretty gnarly things, so we'll have to see if that trend keeps true. Meanwhile, it's a bit of a lane reset, but not much of one. Woody actually having to roam up here because he's the one holding on to Rift Herald, and they look for Hanabi. He's staying safe enough. It's a little hard to gank Anar at the best of times, so we'll see if they end up dropping the eye.
Yeah, that was... I felt like J-Team actually could have won that play quite decisively. Unfortunately for them, it was... I think it was just down to mechanics. Kicking the Zins out, probably not the greatest idea there, even for securing Herald. I'd much rather save the kick for the Gnar instead. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And they also just reset the Herald, smited a little bit too late. That could have gone very, very differently for J-Team, but unfortunately, that's just something that happens. Unified, I don't know why you're pushing up so far when nobody...
Yeah! Rest was right there. Does chase him down with the needlework for a little bit. Doesn't get that much damage on it, so he can still stick around in lane for now, but Unified is a little hungry for farm, and he's got to be careful. Now Hana goes on a roam down bot.
Yeah, and he just burned his cleanse there, so there's no getting away from the slows after this one anymore. And it's kind of weird from Unified to see him in this state. You rarely ever see Unified. Woody just walks
Hold up a second. Yeah, Woody just gets completely caught out for a second. Now they do actually look to try and turn it around as he immediately flashes away. Good cover from the rest of J-Team. And they're actually just going to drop Rift Herald down mid.
That was an interesting Herald, because you just lost mid push. Okay. I don't think this Herald does anything.
No, it distracts PSG for a little bit. That's about it. Huh.
Okay, that was definitely a mistake. I think J-Team made 2 mistakes right there. Woody would have been completely fine, but he actually used the Unbreakable on the wrong direction. He did not Unbreakable anything. So, yeah, just a couple of mishaps here from J-Team, and these are going to be costly because they're giving a lot of time and snowball potential for PSG. You don't want to be face-checking into a Dragon Soul fight early on into this game if you want to scale for 1-3-1.
No, the Dragon Timer is actually really good here for PSG. They finish off the mountain at about 12 minutes and 50 seconds, and we have an Infernal Rift as well. Ooh, boy. It's going to be a spicy start.
Yeah, this has not been a very tight game from J-Team. I think they have... It's kind of weird to see this from J-Team because usually my main criticism is that they're very content to just sit back and farm and do nothing. But I feel like they're a little bit angsty right now. I feel like they can smell worlds at their fingertips and they're trying to do a little bit too much. So the Herald drop, definitely a mistake. The Herald Force is kind of weird. Just a lot of small mistakes.
Out. You know, seeing PSG turned mortal yesterday, that can change your perspective pretty drastically. But J-Team have been making some uncharacteristic mistakes, and this is only game 1 of a best-of-5 series. But every game counts, as we saw last night. Hana gets a little bit of a late leash there from Mission on the Krugs, as they will look to rotate around. But they need to stem the bleeding for a little while. They do have a fantastic late game if they can make it, but they do find themselves down a little bit of gold, and they're not getting a lot done with what edges they do have.
Yeah, I think it's just waited out for now for J-Team. Their best situation is if they can sneak one of these Drakes. The next one will be Infernal, so if you're thinking about Infernal Soul going over to Jin and Zoe, that's a very scary prospect. I don't want to face that. Even in the late game, it gives PSG an out. So if they get the Soul, then they don't really have to worry about potentially this Jin falling off with a lethality build once more.
Yeah, speaking of that lethality build, we do see coming in for the Jin. It is going to be that Eclipse polished up, and the earliest mythic item in this game, of course, was that Gourd Drinker from River. Meanwhile, River, speaking of, he does actually catch Mission out. It's nice when it becomes lightning over the wall, but Mission is able to flash out of it. And this is going to prompt a Herald start for PSG this time. Very messy last time around. We'll see how it turns out here as Lilvi and Woody have come to play.
Yep, there's pure 4-man stack on the Herald. I don't think J-Team are going to contest this, and for PSG, it should just be a mid lane push. The quickest way to crumble a 1-3-1's defenses is just to go mid, get 2 towers preferably, and then transfer your strength to the side lanes, make sure they can't farm up. That's usually the strategy. So I think it's, you know, we're just going to see a little bit more farm on Zoe, make sure she gets her first item, and then the mid lane push is going to come.
Yeah, Maple knocks down tower up top. We're going to see a River there as well, and I think they might actually drop Herald here.
They should save it.
Yeah. No, okay. River's just going to back. That makes sense. I was wondering about that. Like, that's not a big minion wave.
Yeah, it's not the best bang for your buck there. The plates aren't there anymore, so it's much more about like strategically how to dismantle the other composition rather than doing anything yourself. At this point, PSG have a very strong snowballing comp. If you look at Xin Zhao, an early Sterix Gauge just means you win every single team fight. You can brute force on Xin Zhao, just engage on the first person you see, and you're going to have the survivability to even take guys like Reston. Like, you can full tank for quite a while, and you also have the Crescent Guard. And there's basically like one melee champion that you need to worry about. So I think River, at this point, you can start hard forcing fights.
Ooh, they're actually going to pop this down bottom. And yeah, River, he has been hard forcing quite a lot just to make success. And in playoffs, we have been seeing it not always work out. But that triple kill early game really changed a lot of the calculus, as they will get the tower down bottom side. Let's see if they shepherd Shelly around a little bit more, as Rest is the only one there to really intercept this. Meanwhile, pressure being matched on the top, but Mission stays a little too long, and Hanabi actually runs straight into him as he's going to try to Realm Warp out. Gets knocked and interrupted against the wall. Hanabi says, "Hear me roar."
Yeah, that was a little bit too easy for Hanabi to pick that one up. Mission thought about going back into the Realm Warp. I don't think he really had any play right there, and now we have another team fight.
Yeah, they don't see the blade opening up into the curtain call. They do find an easy 1-2 onto Hana, and the rest of J-Team scrambling to run away from this one as Maple, he was targeted, but was able to pop on the Hourglass. And Woody, oh boy, it's an ace in the hole right there. Maple picking up another.
You know, straight over the wall. This is the critical push here. As soon as Maple found his first mythic, PSG just went completely all in. They grouped up, they went for an engage here, and you know, I think J-Team just got stuck in the rotation. They didn't think that PSG would be pushing for 2 towers necessarily, and you could see that J-Team just got caught rotating down from mid lane. They thought mid lane was going to be the most important part, and you know, props to PSG. This really caught a lot of people off guard. Conventionally, usually you just see the Herald in mid. J-Team caught in rotation, and I think they went a little bit too far forward. Going up this far against the Jhin and Leona didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. They're also fighting with uneven numbers here. Like, the Gnar can even still TP to this team fight. So
yeah,
it was a little bit weird to see J-Team.
He didn't get to use his buttons that game, or that play. He was just CC'd for days. It was a good setup by PSG, but you're right. Really, the continuing questionable decision making, or at least like in the heat of the moment, it nets PSG not only a lot of damage on bot tower with the second Shelly charge, but they also managed to secure the Infernal, and it is going to be Soul Point at 18.5 minutes, Clement. You know, we've seen this from PSG in a lot of games. The tempo plan is all coming together.
Yep, it's coming together perfectly, and I think the big difference this time around is this is the biggest lead that PSG had over J-Team, like, in the postseason, and if you consider yesterday games as well, this is PSG just firing on all cylinders. So when the tempo plan comes together, it can look very good. We still are in a snowballing meta. Like, a lot of the games are very one-sided, and this is what PSG are best at. I think they have made tweaks to this comp overall, though. They understand that Twisted Fate is actually not a priority in this comp. They still need Maple on a damage dealer. So, you know, this is something that I can stand behind.
It's playing to the strengths, but also making sure that they don't give themselves too many weaknesses. It was weird to see Maple on a utility pick, and now the curtain call is going to be opened up. They actually do find Hana once again. I really love that Zenith Blade combination they've been pulling off, but it's a good turnaround as J-Team disengage and collapse onto Kaiwing as the PSG play backfires.
Yeah, Kaiwing going over the wall was a little too much for me there.
I don't think. Have you ever seen a caster curse like work in literal real time? Because I think that just happened.
Yep, you're absolutely right, man.
I am too powerful, Clement.
Whoever you want to see in Worlds, you should just start praising the other team, and I think you're gonna get your wish.
You know, it's too much power. I have to exercise responsibility. I can't cheer for anybody. I can't praise anybody. Everyone is terrible. There.
It was a little bit weird because clearly their solo lanes were not underneath their tower, and no one could follow Kaiwing. I understand trying to go for someone that isn't going to be able to be protected by Braum, but just a little bit of overreach right there. But PSG, they're still fine. They're not going to get punished too hard by this one. Mission is still in full farm mode. We haven't seen Mission in a team fight just yet. And this was my main worry for J-Team, is that I felt their comp was a little bit too slow. If you look at a 1-3-1, typically what you want is at least a bottom lane where you can focus on, or at least red side counter pick. But in this situation, J-Team actually revealed all of their solo lane cards first. Mission at least going to get out this time, though.
Yeah, that time Hanabi came from the correct angle. He didn't wrap around the side, but really, it's not just been like kind of getting caught out. They just haven't had as much vision either, and you're starting to see that they're learning their lesson a little bit, trying to slam down a few wards. But you're right, the game is a little bit slow here, and J-Team, they might run out of time before they get any options. There's a lot of standing gold on those turrets that they haven't been able to knock down. They've barely been able to dent some of them. Look at that mid turret. That was where they dropped the Herald that they won a very tough fight over. And yeah, it just has been questionable decision-making in some cases, and this PSG snowball is huge. Baron Nashor now in the Rift, and we've seen this film before. PSG just going in, sweeping things out, making sure that they can keep J-Team away, and they will try to end this in relatively quick fashion, I would think.
Yeah, it's very easy for PSG to set up, but for J-Team, they do have a chance. I think their win condition is Rest finding the backline versus Unified and Maple. If he can get there, get a teleport flank, and Unified is in current call, he can force him to shut down the ultimate. It takes away a lot of the teamfight damage from PSG, and he can clean up the carries by himself. It's definitely possible for a Gwen to just do that. However, they don't have the flanking wards just yet, and PSG is playing from blue side, so they have ramp control very easily. It's typically much harder for the red side team to come down from the from both sides of the blue blue area compared to the red side team going into the river through the bot lane try. So we'll see how J-Team needs to set this up, but I think at the very least they should be trying to push out the bottom lane, and maybe that will provide the angle for Rest. If it's just a full-on front to back team fight, there is zero chance that J-Team gets this.
Yeah, they're running out of time, however. The Dragon has spawned, and down the ramp go J-Team. They're actually going to force this by starting the Dragon off themselves and try to get PSG coming to them, but there's a Sleepy Trouble Bubble landing onto Hana. He does take a little bit of damage. Woody is going to frontline for him with the Unbreakable on the side. Does catch a little bit of damage, but now Dragon aggroed on both sides with the ramp controlled by PSG. Kaiwing looking for an opening around the side. This is going to come down to a smite fight, you have to think, as Maple still threatens around the angle. This one's going, and gone. It's going to be taken by J-Team, but do they get out alive?
Five-man crescent.
PSG just closed
the four
and delete every single one of them. Rest is trying to get away from this, but with the flashes, follow-throughs, the skip and slash, I don't think he's going anywhere but the fountain.
I'm sorry, Hanabi. I shouldn't have doubted you. You've been nothing but clutch on the Gnar. I can't believe I said your Gnar was terrible. I can't believe I've given up hope in you. I should have been more faithful. I am so sorry. We'll watch this fight again. I think this was a low percentage play from J-Team. If you look at Rest's positioning, he is nowhere close to Maple or Unified. So the two long-range carries can just open up on them. Hana does find the steal, but then the fireworks happen. River goes in for a massive 5-man crescent guard into a 4-man Mega Gnar by Hanabi. Actually, that was a 5-man. That was double penta AoE crowd controls getting slammed onto J-Team. And I gotta say, they just closed this chapter. PSG, there's no way they lose this game. Whew. I'm gonna curse them as hard as I can, but there is no way they lose.
You know, give him a challenge, Clement, because that looked way too easy. It just was the PSG claptrap shutting on J-Team. They didn't need the Dragon Soul. It was all the bait. And they managed to grab the Baron buff off the back half of it. Just, this is why we talk about PSG as being, you know, up until yesterday, such an untouchable squad. Just because they do stuff like this. So now they're looking to close this one out. And, you know, you talked about low percentage plays from J-Team. And I feel like that's just been the story of this team in Game 1. It really seemed like maybe they just got stars in their eyes about Worlds. They started to try and make plays early. They got some success with Lil V finding the 2v2 kill, but it kind of went downhill from there. Here's one on the side, but he's spotted.
That has been the thing about J-Team is I think individually they're actually a very skilled team in the PCS. They had Mission and Rest are some of the best laners, and we have a Realm Warp Engage coming. Okay, it's actually Realm Warp to nowhere. Huh.
Yep.
Oh, I thought they were going to try to flank. Okay, never mind.
Hana was thinking about it, but he's like, team? Where are we going?
Yeah, Rest wasn't there, so I was a little bit surprised about that. I'm not sure what the ultimate was for. Huh.
Maybe they're just trying to chase him away. I'm not really sure. J-Team, they definitely, considering what happened last night, you would think PSG would be the team with jitters. That's certainly not the case right now. They are playing with fire. They're playing with a lot of confidence. And Hanabi is honestly making up for his performance.
Yeah, far more impactful. Lil V almost getting taken down here.
There we go. Woody tanking through the curtain calls, but they can afford to take this one nice and easy. They don't have to go all in. They've already opened up an inhibitor on bottom. Hanabi going to be able to do it himself. He's got the Narbar ready and available, and Woody nearly gets deleted by Maple over the wall, and Hanabi, he just chucks the house at him to get the finisher. Flashes, jumps over, and gets the two-man knock against the wall. They want to end it right here, right now. Sub 27 minutes. Hanabi does go down, and that is going to stop the push for now. They're going to go right back to inhibitor number 2, and without Woody, it's still a 4v4 for the moment.
Where was this Hanabi yesterday? Watching Neganars in teamfights is something that basically didn't happen. But Hanabi today is a completely different person. Every single one of these teamfights, he's had impactful ultimates. He does die there, but, you know, for double inhibs, that's perfectly okay. And I just wonder what, like, the coaching staff has talked to PSG, what the adaptations have been. If they win today, I think Ray Richu has got a lot of questions.
I'm already looking forward to it. But yeah, it really is just such a night and day performance, and it all gets started by Maple just getting a brilliant deletion there on the exit kill. That was nice to see too. But yeah, I can't. You know, I don't want to praise him. I don't want to curse him again. But Hanabi is just looking so much better, so much different than he was in the games yesterday, and they haven't changed that much in the comp, Clement. It's a little bit different. It plays to the strengths of Maple being on a damage dealer, but clearly it seems like the difference is all mental.
Yeah, it could be. I think there was some good prep talk here. Maybe they had a good huddle, remove some obstacles or fix their communications, but something definitely has happened to this PSG squad. On the flip side, J-Team, they're finding it hard to engage, and they just don't have damage at this point. Rest is pretty far behind.
Yeah. Still thinking about that late game, but it's not going to happen at this rate. And as they just open up, the teleport comes in for Rest, but he has to run to the front line anyways, and he goes into his own stasis just to buy a little time, but that's just going to be him going down and knock against the wall. Hanabi gets one, and he didn't really even need more here as PSG just charged down the line, forcing the flash out of Woody, and he is gone as the double kill comes in for Maple and the ace for PSG. That will be it. It took them just under 29 minutes. But after the doubts and questions of yesterday, we have an answer. PSG, they may be mortal, but they will absolutely not go quietly into the night. Game 1 up over J-Team.
PSG, their only Achilles heel has been Beyond Gaming this split. Against J-Team, still flawless so far. This was a very peculiar game because I felt like the early game did not actually go as smoothly as PSG might have wanted. They lost the bot lane priority very early on, but it was the Herald fight that got them back in. You had Xin Zhao with 4 kills right off the bat there, and it was going to be very difficult from that point onward. And I feel quite bad for J-Team because I felt like they had a much better chance with this draft than the game itself actually indicated. There was a couple very obvious mistakes that happened that were completely preventable. If they just smited early on the Herald, it would have been fine. If they actually dropped the Herald for some use rather than I have no idea what Woody was doing there, but
yeah,
they didn't really
lot of
utilize their early game at all. So it's just I'll say this again though. I feel like J Team could have drafted a lot better given that they were around red side 1-3-1. They did not utilize counter picks. None of their solo lanes were counter picks. All of them were blind, and even their bot lane was countered. So if you want to run red side 1-3-1, the main reason it works is because your solo lanes actually have priority. This was way too slow of a game, and they still nearly got away with it. But I would like to see in future games that they actually just hold on to top lane until last pick. I feel like Rest has a champion pool where he should be able to counter out Hanabi, whatever the blindside pick is.
Yeah, and we have seen Hanabi, he tends to be on the weak side a lot more often than not, and he had struggled yesterday. So certainly a reasonable assumption that you can probably play to a strength that way. We'll see if J-Team actually are able to find an answer in the next game. Maybe they just had a little bit of jitters. This has been such a long road for them. Keep in mind, this was their 16th game in the playoffs already, nearly full series, pretty much back to back to back. But they've had a little bit of time to rest and recover, whereas PSG were the ones coming in we thought might be a little fatigued. We thought maybe we could have been experiencing a little bit of mental boom, but clearly that's not the case as they go right back to a strategy that has worked for them time and time again, and it continues to be flawless against the likes of J-Team. Yeah, I mean, mechanically or analytically at least, what J-Team can do, we already talked about changing it up in the draft, but it does seem like there's also a bit of a mentality block. Those weird decisions on a number of key plays seem to be holding them back. And do you think that is just, looking at Worlds, looking ahead, or maybe just having to face up against the Titans that are PSG?
I feel like J-Team has always been a team that does not manage their aggression very well. They don't manage their aggression in terms of the context of the game. If you're running this comp for most of the early game, you just try to sit tight. You don't take,
yeah.
Even if it's 60-40 in your favor, I don't think you take the play. And I think what they should change in the later drafts is they need to stop giving Maple so much space. Giving him the Zoe versus Ryze matchup is just, he gets an open canvas to paint whatever he wants to. And I think the better solution here is actually to get an early game champion for Mission. I don't think he's actually a great scaler, and I don't think you want Mission to be split pushing. Mission did not have a very good split pushing game. I feel like Rest actually has much better senses when it comes to playing 1-4. So in this draft particularly, I would have preferred for, let's say Mission to have something like a Syndra, though it was banned out, to counter out the Zoe, and you can still go into a split pushing comp later, but at least have early impact on Mission, where I think he is much more comfortable with, rather than late game side lane duty.
And speaking of painting a picture, there we see it right there on the canvas. Pretty big snowballing gold lead for PSG. It really got off to a start with the big 3-4 kills that were basically handed straight into the pocket of River, and he kind of ran with that from there. Really good plays around side lanes, really good collapses from PSG we've seen so many times. And yes, of course, Maple will win the MVP award with a perfect KDA. Just everywhere he needed to be, and he was absolutely sniping left, right, and center of the map.
Yeah, he got so many shots onto the back line. I think that's the key thing about that. Even with the Braum pick, they were still able to find picks, and it's just kind of remarkable how he's able to snipe out Lil V or snipe out Woody, who is the main tank on the team.
He really bends those paddle stars, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's just so weird that he's able to do it. And this is something that I think you should really copy from what Beyond Gaming did yesterday, as you take away LeBlanc Zoe and even consider the Syndra for Maple. You don't want him on any early snowball champions that actually provide damage themselves. Twisted Fate is okay, but the rest of the big three, Zoe, Syndra, and LeBlanc, again, I think will be a death knell for any other team.
Well, we're going to have to see if they make that adaptation. J-Team find themselves down 1. We'll see if they can fire back right after this brief break.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire?
And welcome back, everybody. We are in the thick of things here in our semifinal between PSG and J-Team. The winner going to Worlds and the loser going to be knocked out of this one, not get a chance at the finals or anything else like that. Hey, everybody, I am still Pyrotechnics. He is still Clement. And our sponsors, of course, they haven't changed either. Fancy that. They are CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and, of course, Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible. Now, Clement, we've got already one game showing that PSG can certainly bounce back. The question is, now can J-Team? Because we were talking off screen, that game was pretty winnable up until that dragon fight, it seemed.
It definitely was. I felt like this game was a lot closer. There was a number of very obvious mistakes coming in from J-Team that just kind of sunk the entire game for them. But they have another chance on the red side again. And what I want to see out of them is actually try to utilize counter picks. Like, you can go for early support in jungle and not have to rush a Rise. I don't think the Rise is going to be as critical as people think it will be. If I'm PSG myself, I wouldn't be rushing for Rise. I actually want the big three that we were talking about. LeBlanc, Syndra, and Zoe. Those are the big three for me that I'm always going to go for. So I'm going to leave the Rise by the wayside. You don't have to pick it in the first rotation.
Yeah, and it's interesting. J-Team, they've actually selected to stay on the same side as well. They do have side selection for this game too, but they were going to stay on the red side. So I am curious what they're actually going to use for that. We have seen a lot of teams in playoffs mostly opt for blue side when they get the opportunity. But, you know, bucking the trend here for J-Team. So they also opted, as you mentioned last game, into pretty much all lanes that were going to get pushed in.
Yeah.
And I want to see if they try to save that for a top side push, because we have seen as of yesterday that Hanabi can get exploited. This game completely proving the opposite when he gets the counter matchup and his Gnar is once again godlike. But that aside, I think there's always a possibility there. I'm curious to see which of the lanes J-Team do try to attack, and if they do try to secure themselves one of those strong pickups. We do see the Citra already off the board, same bans as last time as we get into game 2.
Yeah, I expected Felios to be off the board completely as well, and what I'm really curious to see is if J-Team, if they are going to pick something blind, I actually am considering blind GP early, because I don't think Hanabi actually has in his pool something that can deal effectively with the GP. Usually you're thinking about things like Lucian, you're thinking about things that just a pure tank to scale alongside with him. But Hanabi, I don't really think has like any of those really extreme picks that can punish rest on the pick. So if there is going to be a blind pick, I think that's the one that I would go for. The Gwen was not effective last game, in large part because of the Gnar keeping her down in lane. So I would not recommend it. Things I think you could potentially go for are, Viego is one of them. Hana actually had a pretty good Viego game in the last series. A Rise I don't want to see early, but
they did it again. I was gonna ask you up until this point, is it worth trying to go for the Zoe pick away? But nope, it's the same draft so far from J-Team, and that means it's probably gonna be the same draft from PSG.
Ain't broke, don't fix it. So
yeah,
there's no
it's
real
Groundhog
reason
Day
for
here
PSG
at the PCS semifinals. Yeah, so if I'm remembering correctly, this was a Jhin pickup from Unified, and even though he got first blooded, it worked out pretty well. But Ezreal is another champion that we've seen him have success on, and certainly works a little bit more for the team fighting.
Yeah, this one is a much weaker pick in terms of the laning phase, so you just assume that PSG is going to be full playing for the top side, and this is a good setup for J-Team. Like, if nothing's going to happen in the bot, then you can fully focus on top side, and you also have the counter pick. So I want to see J-Team sort of play in that direction. Don't go for the early Gwen. It may be the GP if it's offered to you, but not the early Gwen for sure in this spot.
So far, no changes, but plenty of time to see if the bans will adapt a little bit. It was a lot of targeting up there. We saw Camille removed, the Jace removed. I believe it was J-Team that actually did get rid of the Jace. A little bit of time on the clock. They are deciding.
You have to take away Jace in this comp, I feel, because it's already shaping up to be potentially a double poke comp, and if Jace is there, it's a triple poke. That composition is pretty gnarly to deal with. You also have Xin Zhao disengaged. That's almost too perfect of a comp in the meta, so I think Jace is 100% just a takeaway. If I'm PSG here, my blindside top lane pick is probably going to be a Mundo. There is no sustained damage coming in from JT right now, and there is no percent HP damage. So Mundo on this patch is still perfectly okay. It also has a bit of poke to go with the rest of the comp as well. That is, gives PSG a really good out, and I don't think J-Team is going to waste a ban on Mundo. So that is probably my suggestion for Hanabi.
They ban away the Leona against Kaiwing. An interesting choice there. Leona kind of a perennial pick here in the league, and it just has been so popular across the board. But we did see a couple of overchases maybe, but Kaiwing did set up some really great plays that locked Hana in particular down. So maybe they are just fearing that potential. We'll see if he finds a little bit different in this one. If he wants to set up some fun poke, the Bard's always an option. And there's the Gangplank ban from J-Team. So not going for a topside pickup. We'll see if this goes through.
I'm not really the biggest fan of this Leona ban because PSG are showing their hand is that they're playing away from the bottom side, and I think Thresh is actually far more dangerous in this spot than Leona roams. So I think for PSG, like Thresh is probably just it's a very weak lane. Thresh Ezreal, usually Alistar Ezreal, Leona Ezreal is a little bit better, but if Unified's not playing that well today, I think a Thresh roam would be perfectly fine. And PSG still have a whole plethora of just safe blind picks at this point. They're going to go with more Engage instead. Much weaker lane to exploit. This would actually be a good spot for the Gwen to come out, but it's much easier to team fight with an Ornn, I guess.
I was curious about the Forge God making an appearance. It already happened in the PSG playoffs, and we did already see a success on it. And there is to add a little bit more poke to the mix. The Bard could come through. Don't tell me it's going to be a Yuumi. No, yeah, you didn't have me fooled for a second, Kaiwing. It's going to be the Bard after all. And I do like that bottom lane because now it does mean there's going to be a lot of roam shenanigans. And I love to see Kaiwing on this champion.
Yeah, me too. It's just so fun to watch him utilize it. He does a lot of interesting things about it. He can, one of his best tricks is, defensively just taking away Herald charges. And he can also just take the Herald, the tower away from the opposing team as well. J-Team, no surprises here. They are going to go for the Gwen top side. And this is why I was a little bit worried about just showing the Ornn early. Ornn does have a pretty weak laning phase, and J-Team is going to have just the topside counter pick, they could potentially roam earlier from the bottom lane as well. So for J-Team, this is still very similar composition, but I think better in terms of the priorities in lane. And for PSG, this is much more of a scaling comp worked into their game one draft. You have the Ornn upgrades, and you also have Ezreal, which I think does a bit better than Jhin in the late game.
Yeah, not to mention they have an extra teleport to play with as well. So I do think that PSG definitely going for a little bit longer. It was a 29-minute game last time around. Don't expect it to end that early this time. But for J-Team, it is nice to see that they've given themselves a good setup for a winning lane, at least in one of them. And they've also managed to, kind of minimize any potential casualties down in any of the others. So I don't think Maple really had an absolute snowball against the likes of Mission. It's just that Mission wasn't able to really do as much early on that rise. So this time around, despite it looking very similar, J-Team have more options. We'll see if it works out for them. If you're PSG, what is your strategy in the early game, Clement? Are you going to just try and sack this top side, or are you going to try and shut Rest down?
I think the side lanes are pretty much unimportant. It's a roaming hit squad coming out from PSG between Bard, Zoe, and Xin Zhao. If one slow lands, that person is dead. The single target burst damage is absolutely disgusting coming out from this comp. And I think they're just going to forego actually getting side lane priority in favor of just pushing out the jungler instead.
All right, PSG got themselves one hell of a poke and catch composition, facing off against the likes of J-Team. Game 2 underway as PSG looking to redeem themselves from yesterday's performance and still get that spot at Worlds. 2 games away from doing it, and J-Team, after getting snowballed, we'll see if they've learned any lessons here as we hit the Rift.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel like PSG is listening to our cast. They have given us everything we asked about. They dropped the Jhin, they get more scaling, they actually have the fight that they can team fight with. Maple is on a damage carry. This is one of the most comfortable drafts that I've seen from PSG this entire playoffs. Preserves all of their strengths, covers up their weaknesses very well. Taking a look at the Keystone Runes here, pretty much standard across the board here, nothing particularly special. We are going to get a cleanse in the bottom side once more from the Varus just playing against Ornn. Pretty expected.
Unified should play a little safer this time. He was really pushed up last game. Not to mention Kai Wing is on defensive duties. He's also got heal too. That is worth keeping in mind.
Yeah, it's a full defensive setup coming up from the bottom side here. They're not really trying to get kills. They're just keeping in lane. They'll take whatever farm they're given. And if you're not looking, then Bard has a very easy magical journey. If you look at that terrain piece right behind the Drake, you can use that to get a lot of distance right towards the mid lane. I really like blue side Bards, and this is why you see mostly the Bards just being selected on this side. It's because of that Drake pit where you can get a lot of use and just roam up the mid with, like, even if Rudy gets a head start, Bard can still arrive there before him.
Yeah, and Kai Wing's Bard in particular is always just really much a pleasure to see. Like, it is a lot of those little things, but he also just is able to really stack it up. I mean, 100% win rate on this champion, of course, because he's played it in the summer only in the regular split, but at the same time, also really able to kind of get a pretty respectable score for himself. I'm thinking he actually picks up a number of kills on this champion, securing him at the very least.
Yeah, for sure. We have seen him just play Ignite Bard and roam around and pick up kills left and right.
Yeah, maybe not this game because he's running heal, but, you know, he plays Bard with a certain bloodthirstiness, and I respect that.
Yeah. It's a very interesting matchup compared to Game 1. If you look at the side lanes, this time J-Team actually have a definitive advantage. So this is why I think Red Side 131 is a lot more effective than Blue Side 131. We have seen Machi that's been primarily a blue side 1-3-1 team, and they were completely dismantled in playoffs. And most of it is just because you get counterpicked. And, you know, on red side, that doesn't really happen as much. You can smoothly scale up most of your carries into the late game. But it does present yourself, expose yourself to more opportunities to getting ganked as well. So I think we're going to see a very different setup in terms of the early game, where River will be trying to help his lanes out just a bit more, as we see him in the inner try already.
Yeah, already Hana getting a deep ward down into the PSG jungle, just trying to make sure they can keep track of River. As you mentioned last time around, Xin Zhao maybe doesn't want to be seen as early on. And ooh, Kai Wing
Little V.
And Unified backing in a brush. Got to be a little careful there. You don't want to face check Lil V as he charges up that piercing arrow.
Yeah,
dangerous game of chicken.
Did not actually show up in vision there against PSG in the inner try. I believe that was kind of like a wall hack to get the ward in. So he kept himself relatively safe, or if he was spotted, I think 100% you just go on him. So Rest knows that the jungle is bot side. He's going to open up on Hanabi. And this time around, Rest is not falling down 20 CS in the early game. This is going to be a very
different
accelerated win.
Yeah, and that's something that PSG are going to have to watch for, because last time Rest just never got a chance to get rolling. He was very much a non-factor, and you know they didn't really use their tools to get him into the backline. That Realm Warp certainly this time could be a bit of a game changer. Rest is going to be able to force Hanabi back on this one, deny him some minions. I wonder if River takes a trip up top, though, in a little bit. You got to be careful not to step too far forward. Rest does have flash this game, unlike last time around.
He does also have a ward here as well, so I don't really expect him to die here. And I think Hanabi also pinged out where the ward positioning was. Ooh, might just be going down.
Hanabi. Very, very low, forced to flash away and Rest. Well, he is certainly thinking about the dive possibility. Instead, he's just going to cut the wave down to size. Hanabi will be backing away, and you don't have to get the first blood. All you got to do is deny as much as possible.
Yeah, that's why I sort of favor the Muno pick. Muno still can't trade against the Gwen, but he's a lot safer of a champion just because of the infected Bonesaw. Doesn't really have to farm up close in range like Hanabi needs to. So yeah, we kind of expected this one to happen, and the question really is how much can Rest get away with it. And I think for this game setup, a huge change is that we're going to see Mission a lot less on side lane, and that duty is going to be handed over to Rest, which I think he does a much better job at just understanding when he can overpush and stay.
Well, we got a lot of people hanging around this mid lane right now. Sleepy Trouble Bubble will land, but Woody is actually going to get the knock-up, and stop River from charging in, as Kaiwing was even sniffing around the side. That could have turned hairy, but J-Team do find a way to disengage.
Yeah, so far I'm feeling really comfortable about J-Team's composition. I think this is a setup where you're almost guaranteed to get into the late game. Now, this, in terms of the team fight, front to back, PSG still have a decided lead, but you can execute the 1-3-1, and I think this game is going to be a test to how J-Team can actually split push, because they're not going to be able to play 5v5, but they will have a lot of side lane pressure, and 1-3-1 is not exactly a J-Team comp that they have ran very well. I think Beyond Gaming and Machi are your 1-3-1 teams in the PCS, but it's kind of nice to see our top teams branching out a little bit more.
Yeah, in some cases you kind of had to. J-Team has certainly gotten the reps so many games in the playoffs already, and there is really no better time to debut a strategy that the other team may not be expecting you to pull out. As it is really all on this one. Mission does get chased a little bit by Maple and River. He's able to pick up some honey fruit, recover the mana. River got to be a little bit careful himself, and it's a very, I don't want to say calm start, because there has been a lot of back and forth, but it's not been a deadly start, as that may change in a moment. Rest finding a big old needlework onto Hanabi does force him out of the lane once again, and man, I feel like we just need to pan away from top. It's hard to watch if you like Horn.
Yeah, it's pretty much a one-sided slaughter at this point. I didn't expect the matchup to be this bad, but Hanabi's also not getting much help here. This is a 3v2 in the best case scenario. Hanabi does have that Horn, but he could just be slowed down.
3v3, they're going to try to make it for Call the Forge God, gets the knockup, but First Blood already secured. Meanwhile, the Mission finds himself on the wrong side of the 2v2, and they even actually stop up Rest for just a second. Hana taken down, taken low, and dropped it. Now Maple looking for the triple kill, but River will be able to pick it up himself, and that turns out to be a great trade in favor of PSG.
Even though Hanabi goes down, he actually manages to channel Call the Forge God, gets a ton of knockup. If they managed to kill him before the second charge, I think J-Team actually would have been fine. But let's watch this play again. They're going in now. Rest is already coming in, and this is critical here. He still gets the knockup, slowing down Mission behind the wall, and, you know, like, I think Mission probably shouldn't have flashed at the end right there. He was going to die regardless, but he allows Maple to actually go forward with that and then chase down the rest of his team.
Yeah, Mission tanked way too many tower shots off the back of it. They weren't able to get out cleanly because PSG, you know, this is what they do. They're so great at counter-collapsing and making the best out of what could be a bad situation. It almost looked like the intent was to just use Hanabi as bait all along. Like, when they are on form, they are so on form.
Yeah, to be fair, that was a really close play, and I felt like J-Team, if they just got First Blood and traded 1-for-1, it would have been fine. But that was a 3-for-1, and it's just one of those things that it's very counterintuitive. But if you're about to die, don't flash. Just don't flash against Zoe.
Yeah, I mean, that's the jitters. That's the jitters we were talking about, right? Like, it's just it's these little micro mistakes, and a team like PSG can really take advantage of it. River, of course, having picked up the Rift Herald as well, so now that's something that PSG can play with. And you know, the 2 kills on the Zoe, the 1 kill on the Xin Zhao. I mean, you're starting to tick the boxes here. It is early on. There is more of a scaling comp in PSG's favor, but that doesn't mean they can't try to snowball it anyways.
I think the most detrimental thing about this was Hanabi was able to pick up a lot of defensive items straight after the play. He gets his Bomby Cinder already complete here. And, you know, Rest is not going to be able to bully out Hanabi as much as he was able to in the previous fights. This is going to be a straight-up 4v4, so I don't think either team is going to be going ham on this play necessarily. They're going to wait until Rest can actually join this fight naturally.
Yeah, just playing the vision game right now. J-Team with the setup, they do have the opportunity to really just start off this dragon. Kaiwing actually has his back interrupted twice now. Woody doing a great job at playing defense and putting up the wall. So this is going to be the dragon pickup for J-Team. That would, well, it's their second dragon of the series, Clement. The first one was pretty much what caused them to lose, but very different game this time around.
Now, it's a really nice change of things here coming from J-Team. I like the way that they just held Rest in vision, not in vision, in that blind brush on the topside river. So they just had to assume that Gwen was coming down the river. But actually, Rest was still up there taking EXP from the wave. So pretty clever move by him. And that's always the strongest point about playing offense is, you know, if you're on the defensive end, you have to consider all possibilities. PSG pretty much just give over the objective. Gwen still didn't even really need to rotate for that one. So PSG, I think they're still just waiting to play a 3-man game as we see here for the most part. And they're just going to let their side lanes be.
Yeah. Go ahead and run it, push it into the mid lane, and that seems to have been the strategy. Oh, man, Hana gets the wraparound, kicking onto Maple as Shelly goes to charging, and it is just waiting, buying a little time as Maple's able to flash out with the relief effort. Hana's the one who actually pays the price for it, and man, what a brilliant setup, but an even better save.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful coming in from Hana, and he gets the Q1 onto the Herald, and then goes for the Warthog underneath Maple. Maple has to flash out directly, he does get saved out, but that's style points for sure onto Hana. And it's going to make the rest of PSG play a lot more carefully.
If you're Hana, you have to feel so robbed right there. You have like the most beautiful setup to get the insect kick back, and then just Maple, not only does he pop his stopwatch, but then the tower gets interrupted after the Shelly charge from a crucial tempered fate, and then you can't get anything. Then you almost get deleted. Like, you do everything right, and somehow you still lose. Like, feels bad, man.
It definitely does. And Maple also picked up a heal before that, so he was able to regen back his HP pretty quickly after the fight. We're going to watch those members. 2 of them got caught in the Tempered's Fate right after. Maple heals, gets extra movement speed, and just walks out like that. So it was a perfect kick, but RNG was not on the side of Hana.
Maple pulls off a great escape with a little help from his team. The gold game, I should mention, is dead even. Despite the trade we saw topside, it has been pretty much just in a dead heat so far, with advantages in the top and in the mid from farm. But of course, you know, farm advantage not really happening much in the mid lane because of the 2 kill differential, as Maple has managed to pick up his Ludens already as a result. So at the 13-minute mark, you know, we are seeing J-Team doing a much better job as they look to set up a play here. Moving in onto Maple, but there was a counter collapse coming out of nowhere. I don't think they expected River to be there. Meanwhile, Hanabi, the Call to Forge God, is going to be able to get 2 knocked up, make that 1, but a double kill comes in from Maple. He picks off Hana and picks off Mission, and that was a great turn on the play.
Mission is like my Uber Eats delivery driver. That was that was not a taxi, that was a hearse. So
yeah, it came to you in a bag that was all mushed up, and it was just not looking so great. Yeah, oof. That's all I can say.
I just don't understand that play. I honestly don't. Like, it was so forced and unnecessary. Ornn isn't on the map right here. We're gonna watch this again, just because it seems like a decent. Like, they even see River here, and they still go for the play. What do you think River is gonna do there? Of course he's gonna crescent guard you into the tower. I don't know what JT are doing. I honestly don't. Again, they have the side lane scaling. They don't need to force plays. There's no reason for them to be forcing plays. This isn't even in front of a Drake either. Like, I just don't know why they're going for this.
Yeah, oh man, they even bait Woody on the back half and nearly kill Lil V as well. Like, it does feels like PSG are playing with their food, but J-Team are making it too easy for them.
Mission just delivering things to them. Like, I don't understand. Like, that's the criticism I have for J-Team. A lot of times when they go aggressive, it's because they can. It's not, it has nothing to do with any part of the context with the rest of the game. Like, maybe if you're doing that in front of a Drake timer, maybe if you're doing that if Ornn is in lane, it makes some sense. But none of those conditions were met. They just went for it because I guess it looked kind of cool. But that was it.
Until it didn't. And now they're facing down a 5-0 Zoe. I mean, there's 10 stacks on the Darksteel. I think you know how the story ends.
Yeah, it doesn't go well from this point onward. I will say, though, Gwen has been able to solo take a tower without the use of Herald, and Rest is the shining spot on the team. He has not gone with the shenanigans with the rest of the squad.
No, he's not, but I'm wondering if he can put the team in his backpack. Right now, he needs to be able to pick up some kills. They do actually find the Rift Herald pop top, and it's going to be delayed. Shelly gets absolutely nothing. Wow, good denial.
That's kind of
I don't
crazy.
think I've ever seen that interaction before.
Oh, it's very common with Kaiwing's Bard. He does this all the time. You always need to make sure that Bard isn't in the vicinity to make that play, to make sure that you actually get a charge there. And the thing that really hurts J-Team is they actually traded 2 towers for that. Bot lane was wide open, mid lane was taken down, and they only got one lane, one in top, where they would have gotten anyway.
Skywing is just trolling J-Team at this point. Maple's gonna die, but
dead.
like, I mean, you know, they trade the dragon for it. PSG, I don't think they're too worried about that. It is a huge gold bounty.
Yeah.
In all fairness, that is big.
That was a pretty important catch for them, making sure that he doesn't get to just straight buy Majayas. A lot of times when you have 10 stacks on the Majaya and 10 stacks of Glory on the Dark Seal, you go straight Majayas, and that is a very efficient play. Probably the most gold efficient play you can have just in terms of itemization, because it gives you extra stats once you hit 10. So taking that away is going to deny Maple, or at least dissuade him for going the straight snowball, and it's a huge shutdown gold to boot. So pretty nice fight on the back end for J-Team. Still though, the Herald play was incredibly detrimental to them. They traded, they got nothing for that Herald play, essentially. They traded 2 towers for nothing. That top lane tower would have gone down with or without the Herald.
Yeah, a little bit rough. J-Team just haven't really been able to find too much here. The gold is still kept relatively even, but keeping in mind, PSG, they're not playing the snowball game anymore, so the gold lead at this point doesn't matter as much. It really is about securing themselves into the later stage of the game, and you know, getting some dragons certainly helps with that. They had River in the midst of that catch pick up the Infernal. In addition to that, you know, we've also got just an incredibly fed Zoe, despite the gold bounty falling off. I mean, it doesn't negate the fact that you have an insane amount of damage. Yes, you do have some of the Glory Seal, Dark Seal stacks taken away, but the way Maple's playing this, I feel like he might be able to get that right back up to speed without too much trouble.
Yeah, he still packs a punch at this point, and if you look at the team from J-Team, they don't really have anyone that can take the damage. The only one that can survive, I think, a full burst coming in here is probably Rest. But he's going to be in the side lane. He's going to be in full vision. So it's really the rest of the team that has to worry about this. So I think J-Team have to play around with this Gwen pressure very well. They have to try to get him over the river. As you can see, Gwen is constantly going over there. And they have to assume that they've drawn maybe multiple members towards the top side before they can venture onto the back.
And Kaiwing just continues to be a thorn in the side of everyone from J-Team, playing on the edge. And it's just such a treat to watch when you see somebody that's just so skilled on a champion like that. Just some of the shenanigans they can pull as Lil V's forced to flash out of the Tempered Fate. Magical Journey set up. No one's going to take that one as J-Team were coming to the rescue. But, I mean, you take those cooldown trades.
Yeah, take them every single day of the week, and that's a great find for them. Again, it's going to make Lil V very susceptible to something like Zoe Poke coming down the line. This Drake fight, I don't think J-Team necessarily want to take this one. I don't think Rise is impactful enough at this point in the game, and I don't think Gwen wants to leave topside. So for J-Team, this is, if you deny from PSG, that's good enough. Like, we're not really trying to factor in an early force with the dragon fight anyway, so just denial, I think, is J-Team is satisfied.
Just keeping them on the back foot, not letting them get really any sort of advantages, and it does slow down a bit of the game plan, whereas PSG, they're going to be pretty happy going into the later stages of the game. It is a very different pace than we saw last time around with just the classic PSG snowball. They are playing a little bit differently and bringing it out. A lot of ward buys coming in now for PSG as they look to set up. Dragon in a minute and a half.
Yeah, we are getting some good vision from J-Team. Most critically, if you look at the ramps there, they all have vision around these areas. So Zoe's going to be less of a surprise for them. But my question is, how do they actually want to take the fight? I don't think PSG will be caught out by the members here. And if you look at River, he's bought a stopwatch for this fight specifically. So I feel like it's actually very difficult for J-Team to find a winning situation. They're outranged, they're outpoked. They don't really have a 5v5 chance coming into this one. They don't have flash on Lil V either. So to me, this fight is, I think the best thing that J-Team can do for this fight is actually get Baron Vision and maybe try to snowball Gwen a little bit further.
Yeah, you know, Gwen not having a kill in this one has certainly hurt a little bit. Farm advantage has been solid, but you really need to try and get those plays. Now, Rest does find Hanabi over the wall, and Hana is coming in here. I don't know if Hanabi... Well, he should be able to get out with the flash, yeah. As long as he has that one, it is going to be the cooldown spent, though. But meanwhile, Woody, he might run afoul of the rest of PSG. Kaiwing and Unified, they weren't quite ready for him, as he is able to battle dance back, and the Temper Fake gets dodged around this time again. So J-Team, they might just get away with it, but oh, I don't think so. I spoke a little too soon as Hana gets caught up. Kickback
the Dragon's Rage.
Hanabi going in, does find Mission and tries to get him stopped up. Instead, he's just trying to get to his own party portal, but he can't quite find it as Maple will claim his life once again. And that should open up the Dragon.
Yeah, that was a completely unnecessary play from J-Team. Once more, measured aggression is better than trying to go aggro 100% of the time. It was really perplexing for me to see Woody try that because he knows his Lil V does not have flash. Like, Lil V cannot join that fight whatsoever. and your members are still rotating from the top side. Mission isn't in position. It's just a baffling play from Woody. Like, what are you getting out of just tapping a little bit of damage onto PSG? Nothing. Honestly, just nothing.
Yeah. Really not a lot. Mission getting caught in the crossfire certainly doesn't help. And, you know, this Rise hasn't really been able to do much to save himself. And we have seen just a number of misplays from Mission this time around, and maybe a little bit of betrayal as well. But
I really don't like
starts
this
to question
Rise
this early Rise pick, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're so fixated on this Rise pick, because I think ideally you could pick something like the Lucian that actually has pretty good matchups into some of these mages, or you could potentially snag away the LeBlanc yourself, do something like that instead. But the Rise is very slow, and it just, if you're not going to ban the Zoe, then Maple's always just going to run away with this matchup. He's going to have priority in most of these lanes, so...
Yeah. Oh, at least Rest is having a good time this game, as the Call of Force God does come out. He is going to try and withstand it and just keep on skipping and slashing his way into Hanabi, tanking a lot of tower shots, and with the dash, Hanabi does get away. And that's all he really has to do this game. He knew he was playing weak side, and he's playing it to a T.
I will say it's probably getting a little bit too far from this. If you look at most of the damage on PSG, it's all range damage. They essentially don't have a melee carry, and that just means it's going to be incredibly difficult to kill Rest in the later stages of the game. Essentially, when he's in the mist, only Xin Zhao is going to be doing damage to Gwen, and that's not a position you want to be. So I actually think for PSG, they are getting to the point where they likely need to force some early action or try to find a gank onto Rest at the very least to keep him down just a little.
Well, it looks like it was J-Team that were the ones trying to force the early action, though, as they do start muscling up here to the mid lane. River in the brush to get knocked up by Woody, and they don't really want that one as the Tempered Fate does land in onto two. Mission and Hana going to be caught in the crossfire as they flash away. Here goes River into the Crescent Guard, but it does get spent without a whole lot. So a lot of cooldowns already down in this fight, but they want to keep chasing here. Skip and slash, in comes Rest, into the charm, and the River is caught all the way down to 0, but not quite. Gets away at the last second, burns his flash, and J-Team, they're left licking their wounds as Maple just punishes them from the side, but they are not out of this one just yet. Flashing forward, looking for more, doesn't find it.
Lil V has to burn his flash again, and Maple's still on the hunt.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay. Rest is going to burn his mist. That is going to open up mid-tower here for PSG, so they do force. They can't find the kills, but they still get something for their trouble. It's so tense.
I have no idea what J-Team are doing. I honestly don't. This is what I say when J-Team are not a 1-3-1 team composition. When Gwen is beating Hanabi this hard, he is smashing him in the lane. The last thing you want to do is pull Rest into a team fight and stop him from continuing to scale. There was no reason to fight there. Absolutely no reason to fight in the middle there. And look what it gets them. They burn the majority of their summoners. They waste the TP while Hanabi could just walk into the team fight. And they also give up Baron Vision. So it's just really perplexing for me to watch this and Woody's caught.
Oh dear.
He's fine though.
He's gonna be able to get away, but yeah, there's definitely some head scratchers here, and you know, all the while, PSG just lets them start compounding on the leads that they have. Rest, at the very least, is back to doing what he's going to do best this game and putting a lot of side lane pressure on, but you can't really push Hanabi out while he's under turret, so just going to have to settle for Krugs.
So J-Team, you are not trying to engage in the mid lane. You are only trying to play disengage. You're trying to force the wave and maintain vision. That is all you're doing here, okay? This game is about Gwen and Rest carrying you to the promised land. Do not disrupt him, only when necessary. And look at this play. They know Rest doesn't have a TP, so they're just going to force it. And Rest has to walk there.
It's painful. I don't know if he's going to be able to get in there in time. They would maybe try to snipe it down. Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land, and I think that might just be the end of it unless Hana wants to go for a hero play. They will try to dodge out of the Tempered Fate and actually manage to peel PSG off the Baron as Rest finally makes his way to the fight. They don't lose anybody. That's a win.
Now it's a good force, and most critically, PSG don't find an engage here.
Rest, he's playing on the edge, but nicely done. I like how the tables have really turned in this series, Clement. Before today, you know, we were talking off screen about how you were going to be disappointed, Dad, about PSG. Now you're disappointed, Dad, Clement, about J-Team.
Because I think J-Team don't recognize their win condition. It's like, you know, I've used this metaphor before, but if there's two paths and one is well lit, the other one there's trash dumps, there's like used syringes on the ground, and J-Team always take the dark alley. They're like, no, we will not take the path of victory. We will take this.
Sometimes bravery is not the best choice. let's just leave it at that. Yeah, PSG managed to get a dragon off the back of the moment of the timing, but, you know, J-Team definitely making the game harder for themselves, I think, for the second time in a row.
This is the crazy thing about this game is that it's J-Team that are the ones doing the engages in mid lane. Woody was the one that is starting all of these fights. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. Like, the team's not in position. Mission has not been able to do anything in these team fights. He's not farmed enough. So it's just really awkward to see J-Team forcing themselves into situations and PSG going, oh, you want to fight here? Sure, let's take this fight. Now this time has changed a little bit because Rest does have the teleport. So I think J-Team can actually join this one quite easily.
Woody is going to go wrap around the side, does get spotted. Baron already down to about half health here, so they've got to make moves if they want to. The rest of J-Team were a little bit slower to react, and it's still aggro. They might want to try for the steal on this one as they left Rest in the bottom. Into the back they go! And it does get secured by Maple at the end, and now Mission going to be caught on the side with the Tempered Fate, immediately prompting PSG to turn right on top of him, and he has absolutely nowhere to go, but right behind Woody, who goes in with the quickness, does manage to get at least one knockup. They try to get a collapse on Hanabi, just way too tanky on the front line, and look at the health bar starting to drop here. Just so much damage out of the Zoe and out of the Ezreal now, too. Defensive needlework, and PSG, they walk away without losing anyone.
Yeah, the most incredible thing is how much Rest is actually doing in these team fights. They cannot target him with his poke while he is in the mist. He can drag his mist around the team fight, and the only one that can deal with it is Xin Zhao. So a lot of this damage is actually just getting wasted on Rest. They're not able to find the back line, and they're able to retreat afterwards. For sure, PSG still get the Baron, but this honestly could have been a lot worse for J-Team coming into this fight.
Really tried to get the smite down. Yeah, Hana could have easily given his life for the effort, but, you know, Rest does a great job just pushing them away. Mission gets caught out here, but critically he survives. Really great defensive play by Woody. Only manages to find one on the quickness, but look at where Hanabi is. He is just absolutely unkillable. And, you know, one thing we haven't even really talked about in this game, Clement, is it is soul point for Ocean Soul. PSG are moving down the front line. It looks like we might have lost Clement for just a second, but either way, I don't know how we're going to have too much more. No worries, Clement. We got you back already, and PSG were able to polish off a tower in the interim. They're going to go for more.
Do manage to get a flash from Lil V once more, but Rest is on the front line doing as much as he can here.
Just trying to deter them, but unfortunately the tower itself can take a lot of damage. Into the front they go, Call of Forge God, and they actually managed to just take one, two, looking for more down as Rest is just holding on to this, and Hana gets the kick back, but Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to land, and he is going to take a nice old dirt nap here as Hanabi actually getting the credit on those kills, and once again, PSG opening the floodgates. We thought this was going to be a much longer game, but right now it looks like it might just end here at 31 minutes.
Yeah, it was a game where J-Team honestly just handed themselves up on a silver platter towards PSG. They had no idea about how to play this composition. It was so weird because if you think about all of the aggressive plays, it was JT making the moves. They had the 3-man realm warp that killed everyone on their own team. They had 2 engages from Woody that resulted in them burning the summoners from almost the entire team and losing members. And PSG didn't have to do anything. Like, this is... I just don't know. This is one of the weirdest games I have ever seen. PSG, they were on the back foot this game. Their side lanes, they were bleeding out summoners without jungle interference. And yet J-Team has forced themselves over and over again into bad plays. This honestly just gave such a migraine watching this game.
Yeah, they know they done goofs there. You can see on the cams at the end, and it's baffling to watch. It really is, and unfortunately, and I can see you had a migraine there, Clement. But you're all pixelated, my dude. But it's so confusing because we know J-Team are a squad that are very capable of playing incredibly well, incredibly coordinated, but they just make these unforced errors. And when they don't need to, it's not like it really is a 50-50. It's just not even playing necessarily to the win condition.
Yeah, it's so weird, and this is why I was worried about. J-Team have not mainly been a pushing team. What their bread and butter is more of the late game, front-to-back team fights. So they do well with things like Aphelios, they do well with things like Ezreal, but when you have Lil V on Varus, which is more of a carry, and in a 1-3-1 setup, honestly not that important of a piece, I think J-Team just kind of lost their way, and, you know, this was such a winnable game. It was a winnable draft, but they just didn't execute the way the comp should be played, and I think they have to ask themselves, this is a very difficult question for them, is like, do we continue to go for this draft if we know we can't pilot it? That's always a very difficult question for teams to answer when they hit the postseason.
And I feel like the answer backed against the wall really kind of should be, oh, let's play to the strengths, because it hasn't worked. Not because it's not because they can't execute it, it's because they've been unwilling to try to execute it. They've been playing like they want to be like a scrappy skirmish team, even though they've drafted for something different. And like it's just so weird.
Yeah.
I know. I don't get it either, man. You're the analyst, so tell me what's going on. I don't understand.
So what I want to see J-Team do is I think that they are probably going to swap towards blue side in the next game. Red side, they just can't play 1-3-1. They're not a 1-3-1 team. They don't really know the ins and outs of this composition. So I don't want to see them play 1-3-1 again. I think they're going to go blue side, and I think they are going to leave either one of Ziggs and Aphelios open and just ride or die with that pick. I think that's probably the best scenario for them. They've tried this, hasn't worked.
Yeah.
It's time to go on to a strategy that you actually know.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, obviously it's a little situational. Do you think the Zoe might be a good priority ban, even though the Syndra's kind of been up there as well? But in particular, this is the second game in a row that we've seen Maple really pop off, and denying him that champion, maybe making him go on to a different one while he's on a roll. Do you think that's worth it?
So I would say that I actually think that Zoe has been fine overall. Like, it hasn't been the difference maker in these two games. To be frank, I actually feel like in game one, it was Hanabi and River having a great game. And in game two, it had nothing to do with what PSG were doing. Like, PSG actually didn't do anything. They just catched the ball that J-Team were throwing that at them at full speed.
I can't get over that Rise party portal that they see they see the trap. They see the trap coming in and they're like, no, we got this. We're going to take it. And then all of a sudden they show up and it's like, we've made a terrible mistake. I don't want to be mean, but it's like, guys, you knew this was coming. You could have prevented this outcome.
And the funny thing for me is, like, you need to do in that situation. So if you go to the situation, you watch the Gwen was having solo tower. You actually don't need to do anything aggressive. And what they did was they played super aggressive. Ornn was able to join the fight, and then they all died. So that's just like Gwen carry you to the promised land. I feel like Rest has to be so deflated after that game. Because that was a very winnable game just for a 1v9 carry position. There was no melee carries coming in from PSG side. And in late game team fights, he would be able... Like, there were so many situations where Rest actually just bailed out the entire team from JT. Because he was like...
Credit to Nabi on the other side, though. Like, in a losing matchup, like, he managed to stop himself from getting soloed, like over and over and over again. And the one time he actually did die, he made sure that they could punish on the PSG side. Like, I think, honestly, 2 games in, Hanabi looks so much different than he did yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like his laning phase was still a little bit suspect. Like even on the Ornn, I don't think you're supposed to lose that hard to Gwen. But overall,
look at the
like,
damage dealt.
Yeah.
That's trying to carry very, very hard.
Oh my god! Honestly, Mission has been negative gaming on this Rise. He's literally done nothing, and in all of the team fights, he's just been left behind. Like,
I don't know why they're prioritizing it so heavily. Like, I would love to see. Obviously, the Syndra being banned away is tough, but like, Mission is a very experienced player. You'd think the champion pool stretches a little bit deeper, but at the moment, whether it's comfort or whether they just want to hard commit to this style, it hasn't been working. I don't think we've seen one successful Realm War play this series already.
He's not showing up in team fights. His side lanes in game 1, he's been picked off multiple times, and party portal aside, this is just not looking good. So change the priorities. Definitely J-Team going on blue side. And congratulations to Maple once again. This time, even better numbers. 100% kill participation. Nothing happens
it was a
without
much
Maple.
low killer game. Yeah, I mean, he was the center of attention. He was the center of gravity this game because, PSG did exactly what you were saying, Clement, is just tried to play down the middle. As you mentioned, they didn't really have to do all that much to change the tempo because, the party kind of got brought to them multiple times, which was very courteous of J-Team. I do want to give him credit for that. But, really well done. PSG just taking what was handed to them, and they are one game away from qualifying to Worlds, making it back in for a rendezvous once again with the likes of Megabank Beyond Gaming. We'll see if they can pull off the 3-0 right after this break.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
Can't you see my heart is lost without you? And your kisses make me love you more. And your kisses make me love you more. Can't you hear the sound of love and desire? Kiss me, baby, touch me. Kiss me, baby, love me.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
We are family.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
And welcome back, esports fans. We are 2-0 up for PSG here in the semifinal match. They have certainly looked a lot better in their bounce back from yesterday's performance. Hey, everybody. I am Pyrotechnics. He is Clement. And our sponsors are, of course, CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and Caliber. Thank you very much for making the PCS possible this split. Now, Clement, J-Team have made some interesting choices this series, and it certainly hasn't netted them a win just yet. We've seen them draft well, but not execute on it. Something is clearly going on, and a change may be needed. Looks like they are changing up at least the side selection. How do you think this affects their draft going ahead?
So I've already said in the previous postgame that I think the way they're going to play is try to get Aphelios or Ziggs on first pick blue side and just try to play around that. They are not a team that really understands how to play and split pushing, so I think they are going to defer to more of a front-to-back teamfight style. This is something that they're much more comfortable with. So you're drafting for range, you're drafting for scaling, and you're drafting for the only two hyper carry power picks right now in the meta. I will say there's a third potential option in the Jinx. And if that's their go-to, then we will probably see an early Thresh come out of the draft, which is something that has been completely left open. So that could also be a potential, but it's going to be 80 carry play. I think Lilvi has actually been doing all right in these situations. He's not been given a chance to shine, but he has not been making mistakes either. So they're going to rely on him instead of Rest, who unfortunately Rest is their best performer, but they just don't know how to play around him.
Yeah, Rest, I really do feel for the guy because he was having such a great time in the side lanes, but unfortunately never really got to get to that supercharged time of game. Game one, obviously getting shut down in the counter matchup, but what can you do? And it does go to show why PSG haven't been afraid to leave something like this Gwen open. But we'll see if the calculus changes going into this next game, this game 3. PSG, of course, they would love to get a bounce back matchup against Beyond Gaming tomorrow. And they had, honestly, I think for the first time all split, we really saw them especially challenged over the course of a series. This series, it has not been the case. We will see if J-Team on their last chance here can change that as we open up LeBlanc bans, Zinzao bans. A lot of bans already changing with J-Team on the blue side.
I think the calculus for J-Team is that they're willing to leave both Aphelios and Ziggs open, and they will just take the Aphelios over the Ziggs when it comes down to it. So I don't expect them to ban either one here. It's going to be different from the previous drafts. And indeed, they keep both options there. And PSG are in a bit of a bind here. I'm not sure they want to sink 2 bans into the 80 carries, but that's kind of the win condition J-Team have right now. So if I'm PSG, I'm sort of willing to do it. I think Jinx is much weaker in the meta compared to Aphelios or Ziggs at this point. So yeah, I'll just take it away. And indeed, PSG go for that strat.
Yeah, it does open up the opportunity if they want to go for the Jinx Thresh bot lane, but Viego being left up and available can be a very powerful pickup here. Let's see if it ends up getting locked in, or if they go for the early Lee Sin again for Hana. He's just not really had too many openings to make this champion work. I really like to see something that can carry, especially denying it from the hands of River, and with the timer ticking down, they will go for the lock-in and grab that hyper carry.
And this is a champion that Hana actually played quite well in the postseason, so it is a potential flex. Not only can top lane Rest take it, also you have to assume that Hana can be making good use of this one. So personally, I think this is going to make PSG sort of consider their composition a little bit more. Viego's still a very strong power pick, and if you draft things that are a little bit too slow, it could encourage J-Team to go full skirmish mode and just get picks after picks. Oh, and this time, because they banned away the Aphelios, the Camille is left open. I'm not sure what the Rise is doing here. I really have no idea.
It's consistent, but yeah, the Camille comes in early. I like this at least, but you got to take the good with the bad, Clement.
Yeah, so J-Team have a very comfortable draft. It's pretty much slam the Jinx Thresh later on. But PSG, this time, they're going to fight fire with fire and just go for full combo as well.
I love it. The Yasuo to pair up with Rivers Diana. This is a scary wombo of a combo, and let's see if we get any more knockups coming through as the ban phase 2 kicks off. And oh boy, that's going to be spicy, this game 3.
Yeah, a little bit surprised that it was actually the Yasuo. These days, you can actually play a lot of mid laners with the Diana outside of the Yasuo. You know, Lucian is still there, but they want the full combo. They want the original Hasaki coming in here. I will
Does
say...
this mean we get like a... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I will say in the laning phase, this is actually one of the lanes that Rise can do fairly well in, because you can Rune Prison over Wind Wall. It's actually quite easy to gank the Yasuo in this fashion, so we have to be careful of the laning phase. That's all.
Maple's feeling himself right now, though. You can see that smile. I wonder if we don't see the comp built a little bit more around this, too. I mean, the Ornn could come in again, but obviously Nabi, no stranger to matchups that aren't going to win him too much. We could get the knock-up with Call the Forge God into that last breath as well. For PSG, we will get some of our answers shortly, as there have been a handful of bans thrown towards the bottom side of the map. But J-Team also sure that they are getting rid of the Gangplank up against the side of PSG. This leaves the Gwen open, though, and I hadn't really considered that on its side. So Hanabi gets his chance to go for the Hall of Seamstress.
Yeah, this one's a little interesting. Double AP in the top side will give J-Team a lot of fighting power to snowball the Viego. J-Team, for me, I think you have to go for the Thresh here. That's probably the safest in terms of executing this one. Corki, we have seen K2 actually play
thinking
Corki
of safety
in the PCS, but I don't think it's the answer here. So J-Team actually still vying for 1-3-1 instead of playing around their bottom side. I am not confident in their 1-3-1. Again, this is a draft that requires a lot of coordination. It requires making sure the three-man group understands what the side lane wants and reacts accordingly. And I feel like they're... So my read on this is I don't think, from what I've seen in this series, J-Team is going to be able to react with Rise and Camille coming from side lanes before PSG just blows them up mid.
I think that is the answer for sure. PSG, I think they're feeling pretty confident here that they can close this one out in 3. And then we get another style game from Kaiwing on the Bard. We might just. And we will. Oh no! Last second, the debate. It's going to be the Trundle. Ooh. All right, that pillar, that really does set up a good combo.
Yeah, the instant knockup from the pillar is so deadly with the Yasuo. So PSG have one of the strongest single point focused team comps in the entire game. Well, I think J-Team, they have pick of their own. I just don't see Jin staying alive here. It's just impossible. You flash in with a Trundle and you're kind of dead. You can't even.
He's going to be hunted this game. I think he's going to have a hard time. I like the Alistar. It was a pick away, but the Thresh was left up and available. Could have maybe given him a little bit more of a fighting chance to get out of harm's way, but it's going to be a rough one. J-Team, they're still committing to those side lanes, Clement. We'll see if they've found an answer, because so far in 2 games, they have not. And this is going to be it. You lose this game, it's all over. You get 3rd place in the PCS, and that does not get you a spot at Worlds.
Yeah, I think PSG are very close to just punching their ticket once again. Probably not in the fashion that they wanted to, but looking at this draft, I don't have a lot of faith in J-Team pulling it through, and there's a lot of analytical reasons for that one. First off, PSG are running a very good scaling composition. This is a quad carry scaling composition in the late game, and I just think when you get a 35, it's lights out. For J-Team, their win condition for me probably is only in early skirmishes. We have seen this from Kongyu a bunch of times, where if Viego gets a good snowball, he gets a triple kill early on, he's able to just take away the entire jungle, he's able to chase people down, and that's a win condition in and of itself. But if you're looking at the mid game, this is a miserable mid game from J-Team. They have to side lane with Rise, and they also have to somehow keep Jin alive. Jin doesn't have a gap closer. He's not an Ezreal. If he gets knocked up by the pillar, he's just gone. There's not much you can do about it. So, I don't know, man. It's early snowball or bust.
Well, J-Team certainly have shown a propensity to trying to take those early skirmishes. Perhaps now they've built themselves a composition that can do it. We'll see if they can find success here. If not, they will be going out 0-3 for the 2nd time in playoffs to PSG. This one certainly looks convincing so far. Redemption arc, though, for the side of PSG Talon here on the red this time for the first time this series, as they look to try and close this out. Oh my goodness, a whole lot of inspiration on the J-Team side.
Yeah, pretty normal these days that we see the extra healing in the bottom side and the cooldown reduction across the board here. Interesting to note that we do not have any flashes in the top side here. So once again, a super volatile situation. We should be expecting, especially Viego, I think should be going on toward the top side. He has right of way early against the Diana. He can take the 1v1 quite easily. So I do expect Viego to actually transition towards the bottom side. Indeed, we have Hana try to get the leash there. And this is going to be bad news for Hanabi. He's going to be playing up against double stuns with no flash. So it's a tall order for him to stay alive here.
It certainly will be. But, you know, Hanabi, I think he's definitely silenced some of the doubters from yesterday in his performance in 2 games so far. So we'll see if he can keep that positive trend going as we get things underway for the 3rd time. We won't have any crazy shenanigans, no brush baits. It's just not how these 2 squads do. J-Team certainly going to keep an eye on what they can get done early, because that does seem to be the chance to close this out. Hana going to be doing this clear in full vision, I should mention, as there was an early ward placed down.
I mean, there's no real point in J-Team trying to hide this one, because, well, J-Team did leash, so it's automatically assumed that they will be coming from the bot lane. So, you know, Viego, Hana's not trying to dodge out on any of this. In the meantime, PSG are doing something quite interesting here. They are just going for a straight push. And we have seen Kaiwin yesterday go for a level 4 roam on the Trundle towards the top side. So if you have that Varus, get a push early on, the wave bounces back. Early level, it's actually very hard to dive someone like a Varus, and you could just send the roam from Kaiwin, get his boots early, and maybe try to influence the Hanabi lane. If you look at this position, it's very hard for Hanabi to play this lane. He is getting... his waves is getting shoved out. He is in a very perilous spot here, and he cannot go up to the wave. This is an instant kill if he does. Even with Hana in full vision, it's going to be hard for Gwen to play this one.
But the vision does give an advanced warning here for River, as he might be going in to try and contest on the red, but should be able to get that smited down early enough and just seeds right away. Yeah, this is it's an easy rule of League of Legends. You do not want to face off against Viego early enough. So
especially if you're Diana.
Oh yeah.
Very early on, you don't have cooldown, you don't have AP, so just straight up trades, Viego's going to be able to out-sustain most of it. This is a pretty good start from PSG. Like, their top lane is actually completely fine. They get the wave bounce back by pushing in early. Lil V actually just stuck on that place. That's great pillar placement.
It's rough. Kaiwing has really been showing us some great support moves this series. Just a pleasure to watch this guy play.
And small fact about the PCS or the former LMS, the first time Trundle support was played was actually in our region by Dreamer. So Machi and their coaching staff, definitely very familiar with this one. And we had K coming back with the pick again. This is a fight that should be favoring PSG, because they do have the bot lane coming in first, but Hana could find that snowball we were talking about.
They are going to try for the counter collapse, and meanwhile, instant exhaust onto Hana, actually flashing away from this one. Double knock-up, will he able to find it a little bit as everyone is coming to this party here. Rest caught on the opposite side, but it is going to be River going low and getting first blooded. Mission picks one up. This is the start for J-Team. Can they keep it going right now? The answer, it seems to be no. They lose Hana, they lose Mission. Rest will be going down as well, and PSG... for just one shining moment, it seemed like J-Team had him, but then it all fell apart.
Yeah, I didn't like the challenge here from J-Team. They do want to play riskier, but if you look at the TP spots and the bot lane collapse, both of those factors were in favor of PSG. And also Yasuo in these situations is far stronger early on compared to Arai. So we're going to watch the collapse once more. If you pay attention to this, it is PSG's bot lane that comes on site first. Yasuo Windwall blocks one side of the damage, and then you also have Hanabi arriving on the scene before Rest. So J-Team, they don't focus anyone until one member is already dead. The hookshot doesn't come out before they already lose a member here. I just think this fight was a little bit ill-conceived. They were thinking that, hey, it's a Diana, it's an AP scaling jungler, but you have to consider the positioning that PSG have.
And as a result of that positioning, they get 2 of their carries with kills. Hanabi has 2 already on this Gwen. That's going to change things just a little bit in this matchup.
Yeah, like, I feel a little bit bad for JT. Like, I called it right on the spot there. It's like, this is not a fight JT's going to win. They don't have the CC chain in place. The pieces are moving slower, and Rise is notoriously terrible in early game fights. Now we are going to have Maple with that level 6 lead, even though he's been behind in lane for the most part. And now the combo is online. It just means that J-Team have to cede all semblance of mid-jungle priority.
Yeah, and Hana's now getting hunted in his own jungle by River and Kaiwing. This is rough to see. The Viego usually going to do a great job at being able to solo people out, but he can't deal with both. And Woody is coming in for some relief, but he can't clear the wall without flashing it or Hex flashing it. He's not going to opt for it.
Yeah, I think PSG, they actually should wait until 6. I don't think they actually pack a lot of threat on 5.
It's kind of the story of this series. They haven't been waiting until they're strong enough. Going a little too early.
It's fine for getting vision. It's kind of a, a catch of opportunity. But honestly, I think J-Team handled this incredibly well. Like, they know there's actually no threat here. Trundle's not known for catching people out, so I think they should, to chill out a little bit, wait till you have last breath before you go hunting like this. But once they do, they should still have full control over the jungle.
Right. So, slim gold lead here for PSG as a result of getting that fight. Scuttle does... I like how that whole thing started over Scuttle, and J-Team ends up getting the Scuttle because nobody took it afterwards.
Yeah, that's kind of a cardinal sin against Yasuo, is you can't pincer him. It's so easy for him to just prop up the wind wall, and he blocks out one side of your pincer. So, I feel like J-Team had a general idea, but in terms of the specifics of the positioning and the champions, it wasn't quite there. And, we talked about, I feel like J-Team in this comp, in this scenario, their best win condition is to get early snowball on Viego. So far, that's not going to happen, and I think they have to find other chances in the top side with Rest here.
Well, Rest does have a level advantage, but Hanabi is able to kind of give him some of that damage back. Meanwhile, they actually do get a catch here onto Unified. Into the exhaust he goes between Woody and Lilvi, and he's going to be left for dead here. Kaiwing knows there's nothing he can do, but Unified actually turned a kill onto Woody, and they're turning it again. J-Team going to try and find Kaiwing. Just able to do it. It's Hana that ends up claiming the kill at the end. That was a weird turn of events.
Yeah, so they trade 1 for 2, and I don't think this actually favors J-Team that much. There's no shutdowns in the bottom lane. That's on Gwen. And the power picks on PSG are in mid-jungle. So essentially what this trade is you get about like 450 extra gold in the bottom side, but you're losing 3 plates to Yasuo. That's
oh my goodness,
probably not a worthwhile trade.
Like watching that one, it seems like J-Team kind of lost sight of the fact that they hadn't quite killed Unified yet, and he then picks off with the Chains of Corruption. The Alistar, I mean that's a bit of a blunder.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think Mission needed to be there. I felt like that was, you get 1 kill on the bot side, you hard focus Unified, and you keep Mission mid. But with that, they are going to lose the Herald plus 1 plate, and I kind of consider that 2 plates to Yasuo, in theory. But we'll see what PSG do with it.
Yeah, at the risk of being a little bit too mean, I kind of feel like you can sum up a lot of Mission's play this series with that statement. Did not need to be there at that time. Hanabi, waiting and baiting. River has been kind of quietly keeping himself apace with Hana. He's just going to back away when no opportunity presents itself, I should say.
Yeah, I think that was just a cover play coming in from Hanabi. Maybe if Rest goes in, maybe if there is a counter gank, he can go for it. He doesn't really lose much for it, about 10 seconds on his Krugs. That's all he loses in that team fight. And I think this is actually really smart pathing, because if you look at the time River spent up top lane, he actually comes into the Drake just as it's about to spawn. So overall, I really like this the sequencing coming in here, make sure his top lane is safe, still arrives on the scene just in time. And this is where the fireworks start. This is Maple with Last Breath, and we haven't seen Diana pop the Moonfall just yet. I don't think this is a fight J-Team want.
No, they do not. They do manage to secure vision so that at the very least they can try and turn around if the dragon does come up. But PSG really throwing their weight around in that river, and J-Team have to respect it.
Yeah, I feel like J-Team, their only play here is to look around the peripheries of the Drake pit and try to go for picks.
Oh boy.
This is a great start.
Yeah, that's 1, 2, 3 shots, and the fourth does get dodged, but what are you looking to come in around the side? The Realm Warp just not going to really be taken. Nothing really happening from that one. And I think it was also a little bit optimistic from Mission there. So that play kind of ends before it begins, but it was a good start to it. It does force actually the heal.
I really enjoyed that Realm Warp there from Mission. You know, he forces the TP early from Hanabi. They still don't want to contest this one, but hey, that play actually netted J-Team quite a bit there. By forcing Hanabi's hand, they get free plates onto Rest. So even though the portal wasn't taken, but sometimes the portals untaken are the best portals.
Well, it's certainly been the case now. So, you know, maybe the whole thing has been a ruse, this series. Mission, you know, they think he's going to take... He really gets PSG primed to think he's going to take every single portal, and when he doesn't, they react and he gets the advantage.
Yeah, this is great play from J-Team. I'm being completely sincere about this. I have been very negative about J-Team through this series, but that was actually a great sequence of events right there. They don't put themselves in danger of the Wombo combo. They force out a summoner. They get 160 gold onto Rest. That's honestly all you could ask for in a losing position. But now they have to face the music. This Herald, again, as I said, River 100% just going to drop it onto Yasuo. What you want to do in this composition is you want Yasuo to get 100% crit as soon as possible, so you're basically going to spoon feed him all the resources on the map.
Makes sense. Meanwhile, teleport back to the top. Rest is going to find Hanabi and really just straight up take it to him right now. And gets the Ignite on. Actually, looks like he might want to chase this. Nope, can't quite do it. So that gets burned and Hanabi is forced away. But no kill.
Yep. Does come back in with the mythic advantage there, so just want to put some damage on him. I'm not really sure about the Ignite. I felt like that was probably a little bit too far for him. You know, they still want to preserve those cooldowns when necessary. But, you know, he's just trying to get Hanabi off the tower as soon as possible. And I think, you know, J-Team, even though they missed their early game window, if they play like this, there will be opportunities in the future. So I'm much more optimistic about this game from J-Team because of how they've dealt with things so far.
And Maple looking to get chased down. Actually does get a stop and knock up. Really great play to defend. Forced to flash. At the end of the day, J-Team really did a good job of setting that one up. But Maple clutch plays to save himself.
Oh my god, that was beautiful from Maple. He gets the knock up onto Alistar as he's about to come in for the WQ combo, and then he flashes away from the Everfrost too. So everything correctly placed right there. Probably still shouldn't have been there, but he got out just fine.
Yeah, rule number 1 of League of Legends is don't be in the bad position in the first place. But rule number 2 is if you are in the bad position, get out as flashily as possible, and he certainly did. But he won't have that flash available for the next fight.
Yeah, so that does mean that he can't really start the engage with the Q knockup by himself. A lot of times you see Yasuo is actually just starting the melee engage and then Diana follows up. He will need some setup this time around, but you know, it shouldn't be too much of a problem with Trundle on this team composition. And this is, again, a good idea from Hana. He's not trying to contest because he can't do that against Diana Yasuo at this point. He's just trying to make sure that Camille actually gets the lead and try to play split map.
Yeah, so dragging PSG around the map, that is the strategy du jour, seeing if they can do it. PSG do keep that bottom side of the river really locked up with vision, though, for the time being. And with presence from both supports in the mid, just trying to crack that base as best as possible, or rather crack the tower as best as possible for the time being. But we are kind of settling into the rhythm of things, and it's a slim gold lead for PSG. J-Team do have the inside track on this Herald, though. We'll see if they can secure it in time. I think PSG should know this is happening.
If I'm PSG, I'm taking this fight 100%. I'm very happy to go into this one. But looks like the top lane is a little too far behind here. I thought they might have tried to go for that one, but no, they're just going to go play split mash again. I think the main thing is like Lil V and Russ are probably too far ahead in their positioning.
Yeah, this is actually really good by J-Team. You know, they're finding the tempo plays here and there just to get a little bit back for themselves, and they've kept this gold game obviously very, very close. Rest is going to be able to push in tower really hard here, and they're not really risking anything by doing it. They've been kind of dancing around the outside of PSG's engage and not opting into these fights that have been proving disastrous so far.
Yeah, they've definitely picked up on their lessons quite quickly. I did type in the in the Chinese chat what I thought J-Team did wrong, so maybe they caught my messages. I'm being hopeful here, but maybe.
Yeah, well, they were watching. They were listening last time. Maybe now they're just reading it, right?
Yeah, hopefully so. As this is a pretty good trade for J-Team. They're funding a lot of gold onto this 1-3-1, and I think PSG are playing a little bit too safe here. They not only gave up the mid lane priority, but they also completely just vacated the top side too. So that's 2 towers going over to rest.
Yeah, really not trading nearly as effectively. Now, the gold is still kind of in a dead heat here because PSG have just been able to pick up on the farm elsewhere on the map. But really nicely played by J-Team. It's honestly the best we've seen out of them this series so far. We can see if it continues to improve as they land onto Hanabi with the Hextech Ultimatum and the Realm Warp combo. Big shutdown gold now. Over to Rest.
We gotta sound the alerts. Rest is online. Look at the amount of gold he has.
A lot to work with.
Not that far ahead. Gwen does have a lot of kills. It's only about a K ahead here. But this is going to snowball further, and I think that J-Team are finally tuning in to how to play around Rest here. And this has been kind of the most obvious weakness of PSG, especially at internationals, is they tend to play super safe with Hanabi. If there is even a chance that there's a 3v1 coming, Hanabi will not stay there and stand his ground. They will just vacate and give you the gold, make sure they don't die, and try to trade cross-map here. But, you know, this is what J-Team want to do. They want to avoid this massive power spike that PSG has acquired. They want to smooth the gold curve to a much more manageable point. And now they actually have the gold lead, I think they will be more willing to actually contest breaks.
Yeah, and just in time, too, because the next dragon to come up will be that Infernal, as we have yet another Red Rift this game. So PSG, they'll be... The Dragon Timer is a lot slower this time around. There was just a lot more of a measured start from both teams with regards to it. So we didn't see that first cloud falling until, like, I think about, like, what, like 10, 11, 12 minutes?
Yeah,
this one will be not quite as fast.
More of a split map early game, so we didn't see that much action. I do want to look at the builds right here. We do have the more traditional build of Jhin, as contrast to the Eclipse from Unified. Lil V is going for Gale Force, which I think scales a lot better with the crit chance compared to the lethality builds that we have seen here. So I do like this, and it will shorten the gap in terms of the damage output from the two sides here. So honestly, J-Team aren't in that bad of a situation. Once again, it's just one team fight, and Viego could still bring you back from the Wombo combo, which surprisingly PSG has not been able to find a single Moonfall last breath.
And I think that's credit to J-Team for just really keeping themselves out of harm's way. You know, they're slowly building things up. It seems to have taken a while, but the lessons from game 1 and 2 have started to sink in a little bit, as you mentioned. So really working around the cooldowns, they have almost everything back up and available except the Ignite and Rest. And while there is always, you know, the threat of PSG finding a big play here, they're playing it pretty smart and keeping vision covered. This dragon fight, I think that's really going to be the big test. Is can J-Team find a fight, or will PSG just collapse on them like they have been so far today?
Yeah, and PSG also have to take this quite carefully. I think it is going to be about who gets the first engage to go through. J-Team have a lot of single target burst damage. If they can chain Hookshot, Rune Prison into Spectral Maw, that is an instant reset for Hana. So PSG cannot feel too safe, even if Kaiwing is in the front line. Like, they could realistically just kill him first and still be able to win the team fight. On the flip side, J-Team also have to be very careful about the engage, but a little bit less so, because they do have Hextech Ultimatum, they do have Heartbreaker that can get them out of the combo completely. So it's going to be a very interesting fight, and I actually slightly favor J-Team coming into this one. I feel like if they have their members first on the objective, with how fed Rest is with that Stairs Gauge. Oops.
Wait a minute, Rest? He does get the Hextech Ultimatum himself now, but he's unfortunately caught between two. I don't think he was expecting everybody to be there, and now River is going to go try and re-engage on him, but they do trade 1-for-1. Curtain Call's opened up here. Ooh. I think that was more than both teams bargained for.
Yeah, absolutely massive right there. I didn't think that Rest would be able to deal that much damage to Maple's Yasuo. That was through an Immortal Shield, though, where it was only one shot of Curtain Call from Lil V that contributed on the actual takedown, but the majority of the damage was done by Rest. This was not a great start for him in this play, but just look at the damage that the Camille is getting right here. That Derek's gauge is absolutely huge against burst damage. He gets the heal from Little V as well, which keeps him alive longer, and the Ignite plus the captivating audience does get the kill in the end.
Yeah, just cover fire at the end with the Curtain Call, and yeah, considering the fact that Rest just opted for a blast going over that wall, not knowing that there were 2 members of PSG right on his blue, that turned out far better than could be expected. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a test case here for the fact that J-Team are a lot stronger at this phase of the game than they could have been given mistakes early on. That's going to be a quick take, and Kaiwing already chunked out on this one as the inside track for Dragon belongs to J-Team.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. PSG don't really have a front line that can take damage and not go into threat of just being taken down by Heartbreaker here. Woody's going to get up just fine.
Ooh, wait a minute. As the Dragon does get pulled away, this one is J-Team's to lose, but it actually does get lost, and they go in for the big fight. A huge collapse now by PSG. Not without casualties, as River will fall, but a double kill here for Hanabi means that the big carry in the top lane is starting to pick them all up. Lil V trying to get away from this one as he reloads on the chambers, and I think that might be the end of the chase here, but Hanabi gets 3 kills. River steals away the Dragon. PSG get everything they wanted off that play.
Oh, that was just a beautiful combo. 3-man right into the back line right here. Maple, he doesn't have his flash, but he's still able to get this one to go. We're going to watch this again, the split second where we see the engage coming in. It is River with the flash moonfall, last breath to follow up, and Gwen is just going to do such a good job at cleaning all of this down, because this is the thing about PSG's comp. It's quadra carries after a big combo. It's just damage overload for their side. So I feel like J-Team, once they sort of missed the picks, once Woody was low HP, it was a very perilous situation, and unfortunately, they're not able to trade anything back there.
They are going to try and trade on the other end now that there is a big old bounty sitting on Hanabi, but River coming to the rescue, as it was all a bait. He tries to hook shot, but followed through, and goes in the Hextech ultimatum, but it was his own grave, unfortunately. Another kill for Hanabi.
Doesn't matter one bit. That was just a 1v2. No chance for Rest. I think he's getting a little bit desperate here, trying to claw back a win. And, we talked about this at the start of the fight, but I felt like when it went to 5v5s, J-Team doesn't really have it. They still have that Rise that is... I'll be honest, Mission is completely invisible in these mid-game team fights. He has 9,500 gold, but he's not doing much. And that's just kind of how Rise operates. You do have to get him into that later phase where he starts to pop off with the overloads, but he's not great in these fights where it's kind of ending in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, you want him to get a lot of that sustained damage, right? He's just not at that point yet. And J-Team, it looked like they could opt to the fights, but they give an inside opening for River to come in, and the worst case scenario is confirmed. He takes away the Dragon, he immediately goes in for the Moonfall into the Yasuo combo, but can they turn a fight here? Doesn't look like it. PSG, they're just not presenting a good target.
Yeah, and, PSG do know that Camille is in the bottom side, so they're very willing to just run into this one. And I actually feel like PSG has been playing a little bit too timid with this composition. This is a comp where you can hard force engages quite easily. And the funny thing about this comp is a lot of times the damage is more on the Diana side than it actually is on the Yasuo side. Yasuo is just there to extend the knockup, but the Diana is the real killer coming in here, and she's already going for the magic penetration earlier as well. So this is going to be really deadly. You've got her with the sword boots already. Void Staff coming in next. It's close to dealing true damage at this point.
Yeah. Not to mention, at this point, Hanabi can trade in his scissors for a mop because he's just cleaning up every one of these kills at the end. J-Team, they're going to try to keep the vision clear in the Baron pit, but they really need to turn a fight in their favor, and it just seems like the execution has been there for PSG. They know exactly what they need to do, and this is such a much better game from J-Team, but you have to start to wondering, is it too little? Is it too late?
Yeah, they had a very narrow draft coming into this one, and I do want to go on a tangent a little bit. It's really funny that you mentioned mops, because that's exactly what Hanabi does in real life. Like, we have seen so many times after games, he just goes to the corner of the room, and he starts mopping up the floor.
He's got lots of practice.
Yeah, I think the reason is PSG have a leaky AC in the background there.
Oh, no.
So Hanabi is always the one to mop it up for some reason.
He's a good guy. That's real teamwork right there, you know? You get yourself a top laner that also cleans.
That's a lot better than some of my roommates I've had, so...
Ooh, called out on air. I love it. Yeah, you know, it was very underrated, as an aside, to have somebody that has a solid track record of keeping things nice and clean. It also keeps, you know, a clean gaming house is a happy gaming house, right, Clement? We see PSG reaping the rewards of such.
Yeah, we are going into a very critical team fight for Dragon Soul in 15 seconds, and J-Team are a little bit slow on this play. There's nowhere they can actually find any picks. I like Rest's positioning here, but they need to focus fire someone down. It could be Kaiwing, but they need to focus fire and go in this situation.
Hana looked like he had an opening onto Unified, but PSG, they're content to kind of just make J-Team squirm in this one. Dragon does get procced, but it's an easy opening if they wanted to try and fight for this one. Maple going to keep this aggroed. Ramp controlled by PSG right now. River and Hanabi around the side, trying to keep them in the dark where River's whereabouts are.
Oh, they see him.
Dragon aggroed on 2. Here comes Rest. Looking for 1, does get a root down. In goes the curtain call into the Hextech Ultimatum, and that shifts the field of battle here, but Rest is taken way too low in this one. It is going to be a casualty started on both sides. River goes down before he can pull the combo off, but Hanabi is just opening up here as J-Team, they're just trying to keep them pushed back to 3v3. Anybody's fight still. Lil V with the shots does manage to find quite a bit here. Hanabi split from the team, trying to dash away as... he could be in some trouble here. Gonna rendezvous with Kaiwing and Maple, but this could be a bit of a trap. Here comes Woody around the side, turning into last breath to have the damage. Onto Lil V, exhausted, can't quite do it. And this looks like J-Team have maybe found it in. Hanabi is gonna buy a little bit of time here as he tries to cut Lil V down to size. Gets knocked away, big shutdown. J-Team with the hard-fought win.
It's a 4 for 2. What a great way to start this one. I have to give so much credit to Rest. He spotted Diana on the other side of the wall, and he knew that even if the Moonfall is proc, there is no follow-up here. Maple cannot get in range of this one, and PSG's pincer move actually ends up costing them. Rest, you know, he waits for the right opportunity, sees that Diana is isolated, goes in with Maple. Woody tries to cut off Maple here, and they don't get the last breath combo here. They just can't find that one. So they section off the top side, and that allows Unified to be picked off by Hana, who just flashes in onto his face. Kaiwing is caught in the entire hustle, and it's just very hard for PSG members now that they're all melee to deal with Hana, who has that 200 range, and Lil V, and now PSG are rushing for Baron.
They might be able to do it too. I mean, this replay is still going, but it's already dropped. Baron actually gets taken, and meanwhile, Woody, he came a little bit too late to this party and just gets deleted. So despite the Dragon going the way of J-Team, PSG off the timings managed to get a win.
Yeah, that was extremely unexpected right there. This is just experience coming into play for PSG. I think that J-Team probably could have, because if you think about the death timers, Camille and Mission actually died at the same time. They even died before PSG members, so they should have had some scouting information.
This is Inhibitor.
The game's not going to end, but this is a massive advantage for PSG.
I mean, this was... They lose the fight and then immediately get a huge advantage for themselves. While all that's happening... Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's just see this again. It was a teleport play. They already set up for the vision. Mission, I don't think he had any idea this was happening.
Yeah, they just didn't know. Like, if you look at the map, Rise and Camille actually were, they rezzed about the same time as
Quad carry
PSG
Baron
members.
takes pretty good, turns out.
That's true.
Oh
Get
boy.
that Rift Maker in. That's a lot of damage. Oof.
Yeah, so right now, PSG, we have seen that J-Team can still outfight them, but it was just such a hard-fought fight. I really love the angles they got in there. Rest, huge credit in that for just making sure River could never get in for the big combo. But that being said, PSG now have side lane control in the bottom. They had the lane pushing in the mid without any inhibitor. Super minions are going to be hard to contest with, and Maple, he's enough of a threat solo to at least be able to take down that inner. And J-Team can match pressure with Rest, but they can't match pressure anywhere else.
Yeah, and what PSG are going to do here is they're just going to farm up a ton of gold and then go into the Infernal Soul fight with a massive advantage. Hanabi's got health, though.
He does have a little bit. He didn't actually need it. Oh, dear. That's your big carry that just got beat 1v1.
Hanabi out of nowhere has 9 kills. Even though PSG has
telling
been
you,
losing
man.
the fights.
It's all that janitor
these kills,
practice. He's cleaning up.
Yeah, that's just the mop for you there.
Yeah.
That was kind of a weird play from Rez. I guess that Rez is kind of like us, where he just thought he's been pushing side lanes for so long and he didn't look at the kill counter. And now that we look at the gold, we know it was not a fight he could have won.
Yeah, I really thought he had, and even so, I mean, PSG even thought, okay, maybe you need a little backup, and Hanabi's like, nah, I got this. It's all good. It's not yesterday's Hanabi, it's today's Hanabi.
Yeah. Lower bracket Hanabi is a scary Hanabi.
Absolutely. So, Windwall up, trying to stop as much of the damage from the Jhin. There is a captive audience, so the root coming out onto Unify, but it doesn't matter. Too many minions are going to finish off the tower right before the Baron buff expires. Navi into the base, actually does get stunned up against the wall, but he's perfectly fine, throws down the mist. They can't quite open the inhibitor just yet, but PSG just marching on the doors to victory as the flash out comes through. Unified is going to be caught on the other side, but will J-Team get out alive as at their flank or the rest of PSG here? This is actually pretty huge as River does get deleted. Hana getting one on the reset, looking for more here. Maple still alive in this one, dishing out a lot of damage, but is it going to be enough? Rest trying to finish off Hanabi as he goes golden, looks for a couple more skips and slashes, and Rest comes in for round 2. Hanabi does throw down the mist and is able to take down Mission. Just a knockdown, drag-out fight, but it goes PSG's way.
There were so many great moments in that fight. J-Team fighting to keep their dreams alive at Worlds. Rest is going to have to play this 1v2. We're going to talk about this one before we go into the replay. But can Rest actually do it here?
I think he's going to try as he keeps them in this one. J-Team, this is their last chance, but no!
Oh no, he's down!
That's going to be the ace, and that is going to be it. PSG, in a fantastic bounce back, will punch their ticket to Worlds with just a snip of that Nexus.
Oh, what an abrupt finish right there. J-Team just off a massive teamfight win, and then they hand it over to PSG. PSG able to sneak a Baron, able to just completely decimate J-Team in the teamfight. It was a really well-played teamfight by J-Team, by the way. We had a 4-man knockup coming in from Woody on the back end. Lil V was kiting as hard as he possibly could. Rest was dealing a lot of damage, but it wasn't enough. There was 9 kills on that Gwen, and Yasuo somehow found the Lil V in the backline to win the fight right there. So congratulations to PSG. At the very least, they will still be going to Worlds. Our most dominant team in Summer Split will not be missing out.
And they do get a rematch up against the likes of Mega Bank Beyond Gaming for tomorrow. I think it was the one that people were looking forward to seeing the most. In J-Team, that game 3, there really was a chance. They were fighting back. They were getting these advantages, but it just seemed like it was a little bit too late for them. And unfortunately, I like the dive in there, just trying to go for the all-in to delete Unified. Unfortunately, the fight just gets messy from there on out. They don't kill Maple fast enough. They don't kill Hanabi fast enough. And, well, the Gwen that has all the kills certainly going to be the big threat at the end of it. So really, really great play from PSG, 3 games in a row. This time, they certainly had to fight for it. But Clement, they do eventually earn their spot at Worlds. And we're going to have to see tomorrow if they're going to get the group stages.
Yeah, having to skip 1 extra week at Worlds is just great. We don't really know where Worlds is going to be held this time around, but you have to assume there's quarantine and everything like that. So having that extra 1 week window, I think it can do tremendous good for your team. So they will be fighting super hard. Even though both teams are already guaranteed to move on, they will still be fighting for that seeding position with everything that they have in tomorrow's rematch here. But first, I think we have to come back and kind of give our send off to J Team. Yeah, they looked really good in this game, but wasn't enough.
What a gauntlet that J-Team had to go through all the way in the playoffs. I mean, they open up with a 3-game series against the likes of Boom Esports. They then get 3-0'd by PSG for the first time. They get knocked down to the lower bracket, and they fight, they scratch, they claw their way, and have a brilliant series against Machi to make it to this matchup today. And I don't, honestly, dollars to donuts, I don't think they expected to be facing off against PSG. I think they maybe were expecting Megabank Beyond Gaming. But they did have, at least a day's advance on that one. At the same time, there was clearly something going on in the way they were not executing on their team comp those first 2 games. This game looked a lot different. This was a lot more of a challenge for PSG, but it just wasn't quite enough. Rest and Hana, they did their darndest to really try and set up for those resets. I still didn't like the Rise very much, but at least Mission had some positive portals this time around, and it just wasn't enough to fully finish it. Some great fights, but couldn't quite take the win there.
I think J-Team, at least they played a game that they could be proud about. This one was mainly down to execution. I think there were a lot less decision mistakes coming from their side. The first team fight, even that was kind of a close call anyway, so I don't think you can blame J-Team that much for not being able to pull out of that one. But overall, the draft was still kind of suspect. I felt like there was very narrow windows for this to win. And of course, Gwen, the power pick, 13 kills on Hanabi.
38.5% of the team's damage. Good lord.
That's just
Don't make him mop up anymore. Somebody else do it.
I think you should keep making him mop up because he's apparently great at it.
I mean, he's getting really strong from it because, putting the team on his back in terms of damage. I mean, we can see what a hyper carry can do in his hands, and what a night and day performance over 2 days. I mean, he got a lot of flack for yesterday, especially on Gnar, but now in 3 games, he turns it around. He looks brilliant on everything he was playing, and there were question marks about PSG. I think going into tomorrow's matchup against Megabank Beyond Gaming, certainly some of those cracks have been sealed, especially up in that top side.
For sure. There is a difference, not just because of the performance level. I think that certainly was a part of it, but there was a difference in the scenarios he was given today. The main difference here was that he didn't have to be primary engaged. In yesterday's matches versus Beyond Gaming, whether on the Gnar or even on the Viego, he had to do most of the brunt work and going in first, and he did not pick his moments well. But in terms of following up and then prioritizing kills in the heat of things, I actually think he's a much better player. So we're getting facets of Hanabi, and for now he's not a stranger in the international tournament. We have seen him in so many different games throughout his career. I think we're getting a good sense of how you should operate with Hanabi, and I think the answer here is that you should have River do the primary engage and have Hanabi on something of a fighter that can actually follow up. This is a far better setup than Hanabi doing the first one into the battle itself.
Yeah, finding the engages definitely worked out for them, but that is going to be it for this series. We're going to a quick break before we'll be back with an interview with Rarichu.
喂，
Hello，大家好，欢迎来到今天的季后赛赛后采访，我是主持人 Riri。现在有请 PSG 战队的上路选手霍龙。Hey guys, it's Riri here with me for today's post-match winner interview. Is PSG's top laner Hanabi. Hanabi，
我打个招呼吗？
是的。
喂，大家好，我是 PSG 的上路哈纳比。
Great. So, of course, firstly, got to give you guys props. Congratulations on the 3-0 over JT today. What are your thoughts right now? 首先当然要恭喜 PSG 战队以3-0的成绩战胜了台北 J 战队，顺利拿下本场比赛。那对于今天的成绩来说呢，哈纳比选手可以跟我们说一下现在心情如何呢？
对于今天赢下比赛，就心情蛮开心的吧。毕竟，其实在开赛前压力有点大，毕竟输的话就可能没有世界赛了。
Oh, he said that they're relieved that they managed to win today. He said actually before coming into today's match, he felt a lot of pressure. The team felt a lot of pressure because they knew that if they lost today's series, they wouldn't be able to make it to Worlds this time around. So the next question I want to ask you, in yesterday's post-match interview when we were talking to Doggo, he said that BYG were only able to beat your team because they were lucky. So I wanted to ask what your thoughts are about this and also why you think your team lost yesterday's series. 那接下来就想跟你聊聊关于昨天的系列赛。就 Doggo 在昨天的赛后采访中说 ，BYG 是因为运气好才能赢下 PSG 战队。然后哈纳比选手个人认为昨天没能拿下比赛胜利的原因会是什么呢？还有对 Doggo 所说的有什么意见呢？
我认为昨天没赢下比赛的原因应该是我们整体发挥的就是配合性有点差。然后 BYG 战队打得很好，所以我认为多国并不是运气取胜，他们确实打得比我们好。
So he says that he doesn't think that what Doggo said is true. He thinks that BYG definitely didn't just win because they were lucky. He thinks that yesterday BYG played extremely well. They were able to play together very well, and whereas for their team, they just weren't able to communicate with each other and just be on the same page throughout the entire series. So the next question I wanted to ask, because for yesterday's series, when you guys lost that game number 2 in that best of 5, before that, PSG had a 22 win streak within PCS summer. So yesterday's loss versus BRG was the team's first loss within PCS for a whole 6 months since February. That was the last time that your team dropped a game. So do you think that for a team such as yours, who rarely drops games, that when you do lose a game, it's harder to come back from that mentally? 那接下来就想问关于选手和团队心态的问题，就是因为 PSG 在 PCS 下级赛连胜了22场，然后昨天之前在 PCS 赛区前一次被击败的经验是整整6个月前2月份的事了。那对于没什么输的经验的 PSG 战队来说，就输了一场之后，反而会不会比较难调整好心态呢？
在昨天输了比赛之后，就没想到自己会在 PCS 输嘛。但是我们也是在国际赛场上输了。其实调整心态这方面其实算是简单，就把自己觉得是问题点的提出来，然后改进，然后来应对接下来的比赛。
So he said that he actually thinks that resetting mental isn't that big of a problem to fix. He thinks that once you lose a game or when the team loses a game, they kind of go back and they review and they get word from the rest of their team about where exactly their mistakes were and where their problems were that happened within the game. And once they know that, it's just more of an intellectual thing that they can solve where the problems were and then just do better and focus on those points next time. So I wanted to ask, just as a follow-up to that, then between yesterday as well as today, just how was the team able to reset your mentality before today's best of 5? Because it looked as if you guys came back and there was almost no problem at all. You guys had a smooth 3-0 today. 那团队就从昨天比赛之后到今天开赛之前是怎么调整好状态的呢？是管理层还是教练有跟你们说了些什么呢？
在昨天到今天比赛之前，我们就开了个会议嘛，然后想一下昨天输的原因，然后大家提出来，然后想一下今天该怎么打，然后去改变 BPE 的策略。
So he said that between yesterday and today, the team actually held a team meeting together, and they had everyone just kind of go through and bring up what they thought that the problems were that they weren't able to win yesterday's series were, and they just went through that together. Also, they talked a bit more specifically about the match. For example, they brought up just what they needed to change with regards to their picks and bans, and then they tried to fix that for today. So the next question I wanted to ask is, did your team spend much time this week preparing for today's lower bracket finals versus JT at all? Like, did your team expect to even be in today's competition? 接下来想问的就是对于这周比赛的准备来说，你们 PSG 战队是多少有准备到对上台北这一战队的呢？还有有没有预期到你们会落到败部呢？
对于今天对上台北这战队，其实算是准备的比较少了，因为就把全部的准备都放在 BYG 身上了，所以也没有预想过自己会输到败部。
So he said that the team didn't actually prepare all that much to face a Taipei J team because they didn't expect that they would be dropping down to the lower bracket. So the next question that I wanted to ask you is that your team usually puts you on tank duty over in the top side. Like today, you played that Gnar, you played Ornn as well in game number 2. Game 1, you had that pixel perfect Gnar ultimate in the Dragon Pit. But during game 3, you proved that you can also play Gwen, picking up the MVP for that round. So I wanted to ask, just personally, are you more comfortable playing tanks for your team, or would you rather play those carry top laners? 那对于选角来说，这个团队通常会选挺个给你玩，然后可是今天这个 Hanabi 选手也第3局的冠有了特别好的发挥，也拿下了那场的 MVP。然后想问，这 Hanabi 选手个人是比较喜欢玩斗士英雄吗？
我个人喜好的英雄其实就坦克跟斗士，其实都是可以玩的，就是看对面的阵容跟我们阵容怕什么跟需要什么，然后我再去做选角。
So he says that he actually likes to play a mixture of both. So he likes to play both tanks as well as a duelist over in the top lane. He says that it really depends more on what the opposition team picks and what kind of champion they need to pick for their own team composition over the top. So if they need a tank, they'll pick a tank for him. And if they need him to be on a duelist, then they'll pick a duelist for him. So my last question that I have to ask for tomorrow's rematch, how confident are you going up against BYG again tomorrow? 那最后一个问题想问的就是，对于明天要在决赛再次对上 BYG， 有信心能够拿下胜利吗？
对，明天要再对上 BYG 战队一次的话，就肯定是要有信心去取胜的，因为我们已经吸收输3场的经验了嘛，就改进问题，然后明天去。
So he said that, of course, the team needs to be able to have confidence in order to win. And since the team has already come together and talked about what sort of mistakes they've made and about why they've lost those couple of games recently, he thinks that they know what to do and they'll be able to do that for tomorrow. Thank you so much, Hanabi, for the interview. And of course, good luck in tomorrow's finals. 好的，那非常感谢 Hanabi 选手接受今天的赛后采访。祝 PSG 后天明天决赛加油！主播回你们喽，
拜拜。
Always good to hear from Hanabi there, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup, this rematch. Clement, it's all come together. We saw that PSG could be taken down. They could be defeated at home, and they will get a chance to right that wrong for themselves tomorrow. It is all coming together at the end.
Yeah, and Hanabi wasn't very specific about what the changes they actually made to the ban picks were, but
Close to the vest.
yeah, I think we have sort of an idea of what happened there. They were playing much more for scaling, getting that Gwen back into the rotation, and as you can see in our finals, it will be Megabank Beyond Gaming versus PSG happening tomorrow, another rematch. And so far, only Megabank Beyond Gaming has been able to take down PSG throughout this entire year in the PCS itself. So I couldn't be more excited to see what happens here.
It's going to be great. I'm excited to see these two teams at Worlds. And before that all happens, I'm excited to see them duke it out for PCS supremacy. It is going to be an absolutely fantastic match to watch. You will not want to miss that one. But that is going to be it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come back, same place, same time tomorrow for the grand finals of the PCS to see if PSG or BYG reigns supreme. That's all. See you tomorrow.